Hello guys, this is Joe speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM 2020, day number 162. And today we're reading some pizzas. And not only that, we're gonna get ready to eat I just got done making that film called You Go Pee Pee after 9 years of crap is over. It's a long project. So today we're doing 3 projects and for LJPCBM episodes, and we'll be wrapping up with some upcoming projects where this one project we haven't done in 9 years as well. Powered up. So that'll be something new for LJPCBM each day. So there you go. Let's do it now. Let's see what we got, shall we? Let's see what we got. Nice one. Not gonna be rude for people, but that's just me. Yeah. See if Studio YouTube's up to this video I made. I'll be right back. I'm back, folks. I'm getting ready to start making LJPCBM Reacts, episode number 400 and, oh man, 502 to 504. This will begin momentarily, so, okay. Check here, my Mac Mini, thing, see how many gigabytes it has. Oh, good. For an hour each, it's 90 gigabytes normally. But okay. Let's go ahead and export this after I'm done with these 3 projects. But we'll see what happens. It depends, but we'll see. Let you know. How many days do I have done this? You know. It's a 9-hour long thing, but you know. Anyway. Let's go ahead and check this off now, and we'll do LJPCBM React episode number 502 now. We'll complete the project. But anyway, 502 begins now. We'll have to tape 502 now, because even though I have to check it off now, that doesn't mean I want to do anything. So let's begin it now. Anyway, let's go ahead and get the screen flow out of the way. This is a... How long does it take to get the screen flow down? Good. Hello guys, this is Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM Reacts, episode number 502, and today I'm reacting to Purple Roads, episode 23, Michelle LePay, who's Nina on The Goodnight Show. Now, long story short, with The Goodnight Show, I haven't seen much of Goodnight Show in forever. Well, it's because, here's a fun story. I've seen Goodnight Show in so many years, bits and pieces, but that's just me. But anyway, that's all the story there was. But anyway, let's react to this. Begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Click the like button. 1, 2. Hello. Hello. Is anybody there? Oh, there we go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour, and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show, Barney and Friends.
Wow.
Now, my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Wow.
Welcome to Purple Roads. I'm Carrie Stinson, and I'm so thrilled to have you here. One of the fans said the other day that I was a fanboy. It's because I am. I love this. I love talking to all these people, and I am so excited to have Michelle LePay, who I've known for a long time. You probably know her as Nina from The Goodnight Show. Michelle, how are you?
Great. Thank you so much. I am thrilled to be with you and to talk with you and catch up. I think the first time, I've been trying to rack my brain and figure out the first time we met was probably around 2008, maybe? 2009,
Probably.
I'm not sure what
Probably
year
something
the
like
Sunny
that.
Side Up show
Yeah.
launched. But you were our first guest in the studio on that show.
Because it was
And
Thanksgiving, right?
It was Thanksgiving Day, so stakes were super high.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's when we met for the first time. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Well, it wasn't, wasn't that long ago, but
We were babies.
we were, and that was in Chico's barn, right? That was actually.
So Sunny Side Up show, I'm sure some people may have heard of the show, or it's been off the air now for a little while, but
Right.
it was a live morning show. So
Mhm.
think of the Today Show, but for the preschool age set.
Yeah, which I've seen bits and pieces of the Sunny Side Up show. Continue on.
And we had a puppet, Chica, which I don't know, I might have her around here somewhere. And she was the co-host, and then there was a live host, and they basically just had fun every morning and introduced, little short cartoons. They did activities, arts and crafts, and they didn't quite have all of the panel hosts when they launched the show. They didn't have all of the slots filled because the host would rotate once a week.
Right.
Wow.
Be on for a whole week, and then another host would come in. It's kind of unconventional the way they structured the show. So until they had everybody lined up, they asked me to fill in. And so I had already been on the network for a couple of years with the Goodnight Show. And so my show aired every single night with my pal Star.
Pal Star, yes.
Yeah, and we put all the kids to bed. And then when they needed help in the morning show, they asked me to fill in. So I was a temporary host there for a little while, on and off over the years. So on Thanksgiving week, they had me come in. And this is when Sunny Side Up, the first studio we shot in, was at WHYY. And that is the NPR station in Philadelphia.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And that's where we met. And that studio, so WHYY, I don't know how they arranged it with Sprout to let us have this tiny closet-sized space. I mean, it must have been like a utility closet. But they were like, yeah, you can have that. Oh, for your little puppet show? Fine, we don't care. And we literally built a barn studio in this tiny place, the control room where our director and, engineers and all of that, they were down the hall. They weren't even anywhere near us. So we were by ourselves with a microphone and a little monitor, and we would do this show. And it was, like I said, it was this big, right? Then we decide Barney's going to be our special guest on Thanksgiving. Awesome! Except Barney is 100 feet tall.
Yeah.
And they had to rearrange the cameras. They had to move little set pieces, everything they could, so that you guys could fit in there. And being that it was our first time with a guest, we were live, and if I'm not mistaken, just to make it even more exciting, we were taking live messages and phone calls from people that we had never done before. Like, you're not supposed to do that on live television. You're not supposed to have all these firsts on a big day like Thanksgiving.
Right.
And we did it. And we pulled it off. And it was a miracle. And I don't know if any footage of that still exists, but that was pretty fun.
It was so much fun. I laughed because when I went in that studio, because it was so small, they said you can only jump up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't, I got big old hips too, so I couldn't do anything.
Tail.
Yeah, 2 hands and jump, but that was all my emotion right there.
You're like, happy Thanksgiving, and that's all you can do. I mean, we're pretty crazy for the kind of stuff that we were able to pull off back then. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. That's a really good memory. I remember just having to get up so early in the morning. Those morning shows are tough because you get up like 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
Me, I have hair, makeup, got to get there early, get all the set pieces out and props and all of that. But it was all so worth it. It was so much fun.
We had your friend Carly was on.
Yes, Carly. So she came after that period, maybe a year or two after that. She came in and hosted, and she was part of the. So at that point in time when Carly came, the studio was no longer at WHYY. It was at the Comcast Center. So
I had come a couple times and performed in there too.
Yeah, so that was a little bit bigger. You thought maybe that was small. The other one was. So at the Comcast Center, once Sprout moved into the Comcast, beautiful, gorgeous building in downtown Philadelphia, they had a nice size studio, and the control room was right there. We could see them through the window, and we could easily communicate with each other. We had much more space for props, and we had a bigger team. That's when Carly came in and took over. And she was fantastic. She is fantastic. She's amazing. She's just got such an amazing personality and really connected with kids. And she's a great improviser and anything on the fly. And she can sing. She can do it all.
Yep.
Really, they had a great group of hosts on that show. Everybody was so talented. And so she was there in Philadelphia, and then she transitioned when Sprout became Universal Kids, and they moved the network to New York. They went to 30 Rock. Did you ever go to 30 Rock?
I never went to 30.
Yeah,
not with Universal Kids.
Right. So that was kind of towards the end there. They moved to 30 Rock, which was amazing, and they had an even bigger studio space and a bigger control room and a bigger team, and it was really nice there too. Yeah.
I talked to Carly about this, and I want to hear your feelings and reactions to all of it. That was challenging. I had come from doing Barney and Friends. We had a huge set and directors and cameras and all of those things.
Yeah.
And I come to do this show, and it's on the fly. And it was live too, so people were sending in questions, and you've got this small set, you've got Chica, and there was a lot going on. What was your favorite part of that? And then what were your challenges with that?
My favorite part is, without a doubt, when you're on set and you've got your little earpiece in and the director's talking to you, and they're counting down to go live.
Right.
5, 4, 3. And the little blinking light comes on, and your heart, no matter how many times you've done it, feels like it's going to beat out of your chest.
Right.
It's like all of these emotions all in one, because you feel like, I better not mess up. What was I going to say? I got to sound good. I got to sound funny. I got to remember at 1 minute to say something else, and you're moving part. And then you just start talking, and all of those doubts and fears and whatever just kind of melt away, and you just are in the moment. Like, that's my favorite part of doing the Sunny Side Up show, of being live and even now, anytime I'm in a live situation, that's the exciting, it's sort of like a thrill, to have that adrenaline almost. My least favorite part was, I think I wasn't a regular host on the show, but for couple of periods I was, because in the beginning, like I said, they were missing that fourth host, so I filled in for 3 months. And then again, Denisha, she was another host, she went on maternity leave, so I filled in for her for 3 months. And there were a couple of other times that I came in and I would do long periods. So I wasn't really used to the grind of having to also produce and create my own content.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a big challenge. And not being a regular part of the team, I wasn't used to the flow of the work production schedule. And those regular hosts, they had that sort of grind down, and they got it. Every Monday they had to come up with ideas. On Tuesdays they would pitch the ideas. On Wednesdays they would fine tune the ones that got approved. On Thursdays and Fridays they would create props and oversee prop making and create songs and music. And then on that next Monday, they would go live with everything. And I was a little bit out of my depth in that, because that wasn't my lane.
Yeah.
So that was the hardest part for me.
Were you still doing that though? Were you still creating the scripts and coming up?
Yeah, yes. Especially in the beginning when I was when we first launched. Honestly, everybody was kind of flying by the seat of their pants. The producers, the network, we were all kind of like a little bit of community theater vibe, Like everybody's just gonna pitch in, and we're gonna throw everything on the wall, see what sticks. Not to diminish the very intelligent and smart, hardworking people that created the show and made it happen, because there were a lot of people who knew what they were doing. But sometimes it kind of felt like, we're just gonna make it happen and hope it works out, and if it doesn't tomorrow, we'll do something different.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of that in the beginning. But then I would leave, and I would come home. I live in Miami, and everybody there, was living in Philadelphia or went to New York. They all lived there. They all had their own little community, and they would rely on each other and a lot. But me being in Miami and having a completely different show, I always kind of felt like on my back foot a little bit in that sense because I just didn't have that, rhythm. And the Goodnight Show is very different. It was,
and that's what I was going to ask about that, because it was that was recorded.
Completely recorded. There was a lot of work and pre-production. So there were scripts. I actually wrote scripts, not in the first couple of years, but then they finally said, "Oh, she can write."
Right.
I'm like, yes, guys. And I know this character. I am this character. So
Right.
I was really lucky that I got to write scripts, episodes. I got to be on the writing team, along with Stacia, who was the puppeteer for Star.
Red Star.
And so it was it was so different in that sense. Also, we had a studio, we had a set. And so we had a couple of different sets over the years. But there was a lot of pre-production, there was, how's the hair going to look? How's the wardrobe going to, the wardrobe, the pajamas, that's a whole nother,
Right.
I mean,
Well, we got time, so we want to get into all those things.
the pajamas.
Wow.
So, this is a nighttime show, and it's for young children, and it's all about winding down at the end of the day, and Nina, the character that I played, we called her the Goodnight Guide. She's like your friend. We didn't want her to be a babysitter. She's not a mom. She's not a replacement for those caretakers in the children's lives. She's more of a pal, a friend, who's there to make that transition to bedtime a little bit easier. And so I had a set of pajamas. And I had, 5 of them or 10 of them or whatever we had.
Wow.
Right.
They were all the same, and I always wore the same thing. I always looked at them, and that served a purpose, a production purpose, because it made it a lot easier to edit if I was always wearing the same thing.
Right.
So I could shoot any out of order, any day of the week, and it wouldn't matter because it would all, in the end, it would edit together. So that's part of that whole production process. We would shoot for 3 weeks, maybe 3.5, 4 weeks, and we would shoot anywhere from 26 episodes to maybe 30 in that range. That would be a season.
And what was that, 30-minute? Hour? I mean, what was the length of the show?
The funny thing is that just like Sunny Side Up, it was a show that was made up of what we call interstitials. So it would run for 3 hours, right? But it would be in increments of 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and it would vary from beginning to end for those 3 hours. And that was also something very creative, I think, that worked so well for the network. And it was very appealing to parents, because by creating it in these little tiny chunks, not your traditional 30-minute, 1 hour chunks, it gave parents of small children the ability to piecemeal how much television the kids were watching.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're stuck for 30 minutes, you're like, oh, do I really want my 4-year-old watching 30 minutes of TV before bed? No, but 10 minutes, that's doable, that's manageable and pleasing, They were really smart the way they created that. So, long story short, we probably were about 40 minutes of content, but it aired over 3 hours. Yeah. So, it was a lot of fun to actually shoot because we didn't have to worry about outside, we weren't live.
Right.
We didn't have pressure. We were in the studio to film what we needed to film and do the best job that we could do. And the crew, I can't say, I'm sure you loved your crew as well.
Love.
When you have people, I think in children's television, probably more so than in other formats, you have people that really love what they do.
Yeah.
Every job, that there is to be done. People are doing it because they love what they're creating. They love connecting with kids, with families, and everybody on our crew. Everybody. Hair, makeup, wardrobe, PAs, grips, camera, audio, props. Everybody, our director, our producer, everybody was just so full of love for this
Wow.
project, for the Good Night Show, for
Wow.
what we were creating. Everybody believed in it. They believed that they were creating something special. So that was magical. I mean, as far as you asked me what my favorite part of Sunny Side Up was, my favorite part of the Good Night Show was filming, because we just were in a magic bubble where we were in, a star was talking to us,
Right.
and we knew that we were making so many kids happy, and every once in a
Yeah.
while we would have kids come visit on set. Because we didn't have an audience, we don't have very many segments with children.
Right.
But the days that we did have kids, I felt like Santa Claus,
Wow.
I'm smiling and laughing because this is one of the reasons why I do this show. Because that's the experience that I had for all those years of working with a family, working with people that all knew what we were doing, why we were doing it, and loved it so much. And I'm hearing the same story from you. And I absolutely love that, because I know all these people in children's entertainment have kind of had these experiences, and I love hearing all the stories about it.
Wow.
Yeah. I feel like maybe our shows are better for it. I feel like when everybody is sincerely putting their heart into what they do, the final result is going to be full of heart.
Right.
When there's that sincerity and that pureness and that joy, it comes through. And it can't come just from us on camera. It's got to be everybody, And I think that's why these shows, our shows, have made such an impact. I mean, I'm sure, I have no doubt that you have so many fans reaching out to you probably every day saying, you were my childhood. I have so many memories of Barney being there for me and cheering me up, and I'm sure you get messages like that. I get them almost every day from people.
Yeah, especially because it was awesome. Just reach up for kids and become a childhood and things like that. You know what I mean? Continue on.
It's incredible. I do. I've heard things about. I didn't understand what love was until Barney, because I grew up in a family that was divorced or had hardships. Barney taught us love. And it's another reason why I love doing this show, is to explain to people that we care about it as much.
Yeah.
I know how much you love it, but guess what? We weren't doing this for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And I feel, and I know you feel this way too, Michelle, that we're the luckiest people in the world, right? Because all the things we learned, how I grew I was 23 years old when I started this. And I had no idea what I was doing, right? I'd never been in a costume. And then all of a sudden I went to hospitals and I performed live and I saw these kids, and they taught me so much about life and love and unconditional love. And I know you've learned these lessons. It's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, and I get messages now, because my show, so we went off the air, I think it was beginning of 2018, so it's been a couple of years now, two and a half years, but we went on the air in 2006, so kids who were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, they're grown up now, they're teenagers,
Yeah.
And I get the most heartwarming messages that they seriously make my day. When I read a message from someone saying, oh, I just saw your picture on Facebook or on YouTube, and as soon as I saw your face, I went back and I remembered being 6 and being a kid and being happy. And I'm like, gosh, I'm part of their memories,
Yeah.
or even what really gets me going, because I'm a mom and I have little ones,
Right.
is when moms and dads reach out and they say that when they see me or they hear my voice, it takes them back to when their kids were babies. And they remember those moments when they would snuggle and just love on. You know, those are the best memories you have with your kids. It's just when they're little and tiny and you just, so just to be
Is that his dog barking? I don't know. Continue on.
part of memories, wow.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? You know, I would have never thought when I set out to become an actress that 20 years later I would be part of so many people's memories and like
Yeah.
joyful, special memories.
Yeah.
You know, that people really hold dear to their hearts.
I know. I get ones that I love. Fathers will send messages that went to the Barney live show, almost kicking and screaming, because they just didn't understand it, right? They didn't understand the "I love you" and this big purple dinosaur, and then they saw their child give them a hug and say, "Daddy, I love you," and they are so thankful that they went and had that moment. Because they have it for the rest of their lives, and I know all of you were doing the same thing. The things that you were teaching and showing, and those kids still respond to it.
Yeah. Gosh, I feel so lucky.
So
You know, we got lucky that we got to do these jobs.
absolutely. So let's back up a little bit. Well, first of all, I got to talk about the fact that you grew up in San Antonio.
Yes.
Let's talk about
Wow.
Texas. I'm a big Fort Worth guy.
Yeah. So my dad was in the Air
I love
Force.
it.
My dad was in the Air Force, and I don't know if you know this, but San Antonio has I don't know how many military bases they have right
Yes.
now, but tons of military bases are in San Antonio. So my dad was actually, I was born in North Carolina when he was stationed there, and then
Whoa! Really? Continue on.
we moved to England, and I grew up my
Okay, England, okay. I did not know you moved to England, but continue on.
early years in England.
I
And
didn't
we
realize
lived in,
that.
yeah, we lived off base. We lived in Milton Hall, but he was at Lakenheath Air Force Base. And then we moved to San Antonio. He got stationed there. And that's when he retired. He'd been in 20 years and he took his career and decided to retire because he was going to get transferred. And, you know, I think he just wanted to settle the family there and everybody loved San Antonio. So we stayed in San Antonio. And that's where I went to high school, college. And that's where my parents still live. I met my husband there. Yeah, I met my husband there. My in-laws and my parents live 5 minutes away from each other.
Oh wow.
So my sister lives down the street from them. Yeah, that's I call that, you know, my hometown. I feel like I grew up there, even though I spent my early childhood in England. I'm still very close with some friends in England that I grew up with. But San Antonio is where I have the family, you know.
Yeah.
And we moved to Miami, and we're here without family, except for our children, of course. But we go back to Texas quite a bit.
Wow.
I'm smiling because I'm such a Texas guy and I love it. My sister went to college in San Antonio.
Oh yeah, where did she go?
To Trinity. She went to Trinity.
Wow.
Very good
Yes.
school. I went to St. Mary's University,
Oh,
which is
okay.
a fabulous school as well. Yeah.
Well, and most people don't know this, but Bob West, who was the original voice of Barney, also went to Trinity.
Did he? You know, Trinity has quite an alumni, don't they?
Yes,
Wow.
they do.
Very good.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. So when did the acting come in?
Well, speaking of St. Mary's, you know, I kind of fantasized about acting, but had parents that made sure that I was studying a real career.
Mhm.
So I have a business degree. I have a degree in international business, actually. And but it was kind of a fantasy of mine. I took an acting class in college, and I think I was pretty terrible. The one, the one part I got. I mean, I took one class. It wasn't like I went to a liberal arts school where we could. It just wasn't like that.
Right.
I was really focused on business, but the one part that I got was actually an offstage part.
Wow.
The part that I played, I just had to yell my lines from offstage. Like, you gotta be. Anyways, that was my part. But I kind of felt like, gosh, you know, I really feel like if I tried, maybe I could get better at this. And you know, it's fun. But I have this degree, and I need to be serious and have a real
Right.
job, because that's what my parents told me. So I struggled, and I felt like, well, I have a business degree. How can I be creative in this field if I can't be an actor, or I can't find what I thought was a creative job at the age of 21?
Right.
I said, how can I be creative in this field? And I picked advertising. I thought, well, in the advertising business, there's a lot of creativity. You're creating commercials, and that's kind of close to acting. So I felt like I was stretching my degree in that direction. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I ended up getting a job right out of school at what happened to be the largest Hispanic advertising agency in the country at that time. I speak Spanish too, in case you didn't know that.
I did know that.
Yeah, my mom's from Spain, so I've always bilingual. So anyhow, this ad agency is based in San Antonio. They were called Sosa, Bromley, Aguilar and Associates back then. And they had all the big accounts. And this is the late 90s. They had Coca-Cola, American Airlines, Bud Light, every big account that you could want. Okay, well, this is pretty cool. I'm using my degree, and I'm kind of with creative people.
Right.
And what ended up happening over those couple of years that I spent in that agency and in another agency was I was able to find ways to get myself in front of the camera.
Wow.
The real reason.
Yeah. See, it all worked out in the end. I ended up taking, acting classes on the weekends. I ended up doing community theater at night, on the weekends, dinner theater. I did a dinner theater play.
Mhm.
I really just tried to make it work. So while I was doing my day job at night and on weekends, I was still pursuing and trying to figure out, I'm young enough, can I still try and become an actor? And after doing quite a few commercials there for my clients, for other clients in the agency,
Right.
I started to really think, maybe I should just, maybe I should give it a shot. And either I'm going to move to LA or I'm going to move to Miami. So my husband now, who was my boyfriend at the time, is living in Miami. So it's like, well, much easier if I go to Miami and give it a shot.
Now, obviously Miami for him, but for work, Miami. I guess if you were going for more Spanish speaking, is that what you were going for? More of the Latin roles?
So the thing is that I hadn't thought about it that much.
Okay,
I hadn't
okay.
got that far through. I was only 22.
Yeah, I got you.
But yes, Miami at that time was really hot. There were a lot of movies
Wow.
being shot here. There were TV shows being shot here. So it wasn't unheard of to come out to Miami. And I also thought, well, it might be easier, smaller market than going to LA, not knowing anybody and getting swallowed up in this big,
Wow.
big place. And also having him and having contacts and friends that I had made through him here in Miami, I thought, this seems like a good place to start.
This is cool.
So I did it. Just packed up and came to Miami. And then I just said, okay, I'm going to give myself, I don't remember how much time, I think it was like 6 months. I'm going to find an agent. I'm going to start taking more classes. I'm just going to see what I can make of it. And if in a year it doesn't work out, I have all of this experience working for ad agencies. There's a ton of ad agencies out here. I'll be okay. I had a backup plan, but not like a serious backup plan, but I had a backup plan.
Now, was there a plan? Was it stage? Was it TV? Did you have a specific, or it just didn't matter?
I wanted to work. I love it all. Oh, there's my dog.
Yeah.
I just wanted to work, and really, I just felt like any opportunity was going to be a great opportunity to get experience and to get to that next thing.
Right.
It's like, I'll do this until I get there, and that'll open a door. And there's something to be said about being in your early 20s and just going for it and not worrying about what's through the door. Just let's get through that door and see what the next door is.
Right.
Yeah. No.
And
That's how I ended up in a purple dinosaur costume. So
there's
I
a
know
lot of
exactly
fake it
what
till you
about.
make it business happening too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there is. That's also how I ended up in a purple dinosaur costume. I told him I got this.
So I can do that.
Sure. So
And look, you could do it.
yeah.
But that's really how I started, And then a funny story is a lot of people don't know. One of my first, I call my first big break, was actually in radio. Which I
Wow.
had no experience in radio. It's another one of those, yeah, I can do that. Why not? I'll do
Right.
it.
Yep.
So there was a top 10 radio station here in Miami that was looking for a co-host for a morning drive talk radio
Wow.
show. This was like around 2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you heard sirens in the back, like not sirens, but some trucks in the background, like they're the garbage trucks. Continue on.
And I kind of went into the audition thinking, is this a voiceover audition? Is this what are they? I didn't really quite understand what I was going for.
Right.
And I go into this radio station, and I meet the co-host, the primary co-host, who they've already, hired. They're looking for someone to partner with him, and we just hit it off, and we're laughing and making jokes and talking, and before I know it, I'm hired, and I'm a co-host of a morning drive talk show from 5:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, live, and it just was like, boom, there you go. What? And we played the 80s, 90s, and today. That was our
I
genre
love
of
it.
adult contemporary music, I guess. 80s, 90s, and today, because it was early 2000s. And so my partner on that was Phil Nzinga, total pro. He did all the work, pressed all the buttons, played the music, took the phone calls, knew what he was
So wait, did she play heavy metal music? Continue on.
doing. I sat there with a microphone, they had the microphone,
Right.
a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
no makeup, like sweats, and I just sat there and talked for 2.5, 3 hours every day to him. It was really a great job, except
How
for
long did you do that for?
almost 2 years.
Wow.
Almost 2 years. That's a long time. I have to
That
get up
is.
at 3:30 in the morning. 3:30.
That
I
is
would
a
leave my
long
house.
time.
Yeah, I would leave my house at 4. I would get to the studio at 4:30. We would prep from 4:30 to 5. We would go live at 5:30. We would end at 9, and then we would spend 2 or 3 hours rehashing our show, and then prepping for the next day. And then I'd go home and take a nap.
We would show up at 7:30 in the morning for Barney, and that was way too early for me. So I can only imagine having to get up at 3:30.
3:30. It's ungodly. I have a guest that's come in.
Hello.
You have to wake up at 3:30 just to go to work?
I had to wake up at 3:30 to go to work. I would go to bed like at 9 o'clock. I would go to bed
Wow.
before you go to bed. 8:30, 9 o'clock I was in bed. This is my daughter Gia.
Hi, Gia.
Hi.
I'm Carrie.
Hi.
Gia?
Nothing? Oh.
No? She just wanted to say hi. She wanted to see you.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm real curious about this. So I did Barney went down and performed in Miami.
Yes?
And they thought it would be a good idea to do the show in Spanish.
Wow.
But they did the show in Mexico Spanish. Didn't go over very well in Miami.
So it was with a live.
No, it was a recorded show, but they had gotten the voice from Mexico.
Yeah.
And so they just thought
Yeah. that
Latin
didn't
is the
work.
same everywhere.
Yeah. No.
That is not the case.
No. Some lessons you learn the hard way. Well, to be fair, a lot of people think that, but
Wow.
if you're going to be talking to kids, to families, you need to talk to them the way they speak to each other.
Right.
And in all fairness, it's not the same. It's
Wow.
not, there's like slang words and accents are different, and you really have to be more. I think nowadays people are a little bit more sensitive to that, but I can see how that probably, people are like, huh? What's he talking about?
Right, that's exactly what happened. So do you use yours? So yours going to be more of I don't want to say true Spanish.
Yeah, so it's a tricky thing. It's a funny thing. So here's the deal. So I, after I left the radio gig, I started doing a lot of voiceover work because I really had a lot of practice. So really that experience was awesome because it gave me a regular gig, but it also gave me so much experience on the microphone and just speaking, technique, voiceover technique. So I started doing a lot of voiceover work, and I would go up for a lot of Spanish language stuff. So and also TV, when I would audition for stuff on TV, I would do a lot of Spanish language commercials. And what was always desired is what we would call like a neutral Spanish, what they call a pan-Hispanic accent. So
Wow.
they want almost a Spanish accent, Spanish-speaking accent that's almost, you can't tell where the person is from. It can be understood by everybody. You kind of avoid slang words, and you avoid any too much of a cadence that would throw somebody off, right? So
Yep.
I've kind of honed that over the years because I've been doing that now for so long. It's kind of become my default Spanish now. But when I go to Spain and I'm with my family or I'm talking on the phone with my family, my Spanish comes out.
Wow.
But when I'm talking with my husband or I'm at work, I don't even have to think about it. I just have kind of a neutral, maybe with a little twinge of Mexican accent in there. That's kind of what's requested, and that's what they ask for. And it's just been so many years now doing it. It just kind of becomes my default. So yeah, I mean that's something that people don't usually ask me about or even think about. But the Spanish is interesting because they're trying to make one commercial that will appeal to everybody in the country, and it's really hard to do.
I had a lot of experience. We performed in Mexico City with Barney's Big Surprise, and in fact, one of my favorite, scariest moments is that I did a morning show in Mexico City.
Wow.
I do not speak Spanish, and they gave me 5 words.
Oh no!
5 words. They said, listen for those 5 words, and this is love, this is hug, this is.
Oh.
And I went on and did Mr. Knickerbocker in Spanish, which I just did the motions.
Right, you're like a choreo.
No idea what the conversation. Nothing. I just kept jumping and wiggling and doing the whole thing.
You're like, please don't say anything you're not supposed to be saying to me right now, because I'm just gonna smile and nod.
That's exactly it. But I had so much fun. It's that kind of like you're talking about with Sunny Side Up, right? You're just fired out of a cannon, and you just go. You don't have.
You just say a little prayer, and you're like, okay, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna make it.
Yeah, and
It'll be great.
You kind of use all of you, right? All your senses, your thinking. It's amazing. So
I mean, that's kind of what it is. When you're about to go live in any situation, the adrenaline is pumping because all your like you said, I didn't think about it like that, but all of your senses are firing because you're almost like at the edge of a cliff.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exciting.
Yeah. I'm not one for actual cliff jumping, but I'll do this time.
Yeah, no, not me either. But this kind is
Yeah.
amazing. Well, hearing all this now kind of explains to me why you made it look so easy when you were on Sunny Side Up.
Well, I mean, that radio experience definitely helped because it was everyday live. You never knew who was going to call in. Every day we would have sort of a theme or a topic of the day.
Yeah.
And we would ask people to call in and give us whatever story or advice or what have you. And so you just had to react. You had to be ready to say something, have a reaction, and also play a part. So Phil had his character. He was kind of, the guy, and I was kind of the girl. We had to play our part as far as our responses had to be filtered through our character, even though we were really us.
Right.
Yeah. But I will tell you one interesting story about that experience I just remembered. We were on air for 9/11.
Wow.
And we had just gone off air. So we ended our show at 9 a.m. And I think the first plane hit the first tower around 9:20, if I'm not mistaken. So we had just gotten off the air. We went into our little break room where we always had the TV on. It was like live with Regis and Kelly or something like that in the morning. We'd get our cup of coffee, and we were getting ready for our recap regular day. And we obviously cut the show live. We went live to what was happening on the towers, and the shock and the horror that everybody felt in that moment. But we had to go back on air, and that is an experience that I'll never forget because you just you think you can be funny or you think you can be inventive and creative, like this on the spur, but when you get struck with something that is so serious and so frightening and so bewildering, it's really hard to find the words. And that was really probably one of the most difficult moments I had. We just went on to say, you know, that the news would be coming in and all that, but we had to go back the next day and try, maybe it was a few days later, try to have a real show again.
Right.
And
Yeah.
try to empathize with the situation and yet help people still get to work. You know, they still had to drive to work the next day or a few days later and not, you know, fall apart in the car on the way to work. So
I was filming Barney's Christmas Star when that happened. It was my first. I
Wow.
had just come off the road. It was my first video with Barney, and I had a short day. Got off. The kids were still working, and that's when I saw the TV and heard what was happening. And they said, "Don't tell the kids. We're going to let the parents tell the kids. Go home. We'll let you know when we're going to come back."
Yeah.
When we
Yeah,
came back,
I was like 6 years old, and I didn't know what that happened, and then all of a sudden 9/11 showed up. I'm like, God, I know this is not gonna be exist anymore. I'm not gonna cuss in this one. This bullshit needs to end, man. Continue on.
back is when, if you remember at that time when we had that national moment of silence,
yeah.
I was in the costume, and I thought, this is such a surreal.
It's so surreal.
But I think the same thing I felt, what you're saying, I felt that way too, which is this country needs laughter and entertainment and smile. Even we're very aware of what happened. We're very aware of the sadness. But there's an aspect of getting back to it. And I just remember it being probably one of the most serious experiences. Like shooting that video, there wasn't as much laughter as usual. I mean, it was more
Right.
business.
Of
But
course.
I thought, wow, this is something I'll never forget. It's fascinating that you were working on your show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and you feel like, well, what's interesting is that in our own way, you know, we're processing and trying to help others process, you know, such a big emotion and I mean, that's kind of what matters, you know, that you can help people process that and in turn it helps you process it
Right.
too, you know. Yeah, so boy, that was an interesting way to experience it.
And now look where we are now,
Yeah,
as we're both at home in this
exactly.
And
very
coronavirus.
in our lives.
Yeah, during COVID-19, and I was just thinking to myself, we're gonna do, what the hell we're gonna do, and it just figured, oh my God, this is a stupid decision to make when COVID-19, Julie Woods with PBS NewsHour was saying, please stay safe this weekend. I'm like, oh my God, this needs to end right now. But then all of a sudden, earlier this week, the news report says, that New Zealand is ending coronavirus. I'm like, thank God it's over. Continue on.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of big emotions and feelings right now that are taking time to process, and I feel like that's why I'm still doing what I'm doing, in the sense of like, you know, look, this whole pandemic has been really tough on everybody, and I'm just like everybody else. I'm a mom, I've got kids, trying to figure out how to do this distance learning and trying to be a teacher, and also trying to stay connected and stay in touch with fans and with family, you know. And I've been doing these story time videos, which has been my outlet to stay connected. And I feel like more than ever, people are coming and wanting that comfort and that connection. So I'm wanting to create more and stay more connected. So that's kind of been my way to help sort of process and maybe give you a moment of peace and respite. And we don't have to talk about it. We talk about it all day long. You deal with it all day long. With me, we can just sit and read a story. It has nothing to do with it. And, you know, we could just be snuggly and cozy and comfy and safe. And so I've kept doing my videos really for that, and it's been a struggle, but my kids, they love it and they really enjoy it, and they help. So it's kind of become a
So
family.
how do they help? They pick
They're
the book.
amazing. They're 7 and 9, and they're my crew.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. They're like, Mommy, are you doing story time? Which book are you gonna read? Oh, that's a good one. They approve my books, and they tell me which ones they want me to read. They'll tell me, you got a hair out of place. You need to put some lip gloss on. I got hair. I got makeup. I got wardrobe, because I have my 7-year-old always tells me what to wear. She goes in my closet and picks out a shirt.
Oh, I love it.
It's hilarious. The lights. So my husband, I have a couple of little lights sometimes. So if I'm shooting at night or whatever time of day I'm shooting, I have some lights in here. And the little one, she loves the lights. She wants to see how they work and how they plug in. I'm like, they're getting a real education here. They may not be learning anything from me about geometry, but they're learning. They're learning like a real job here with me.
I think that's so fascinating, because I think we're all learning new things. I think life has changed for all of us, and I think in some aspects we're always different. I think we'll cherish some of these experiences. And maybe it's not, traditional school, but you're doing this wonderful project together.
Yes, and honestly, that's how it started. It started because I love reading. I really wanted my kids to be book lovers, and I wanted them to be great readers, just like every parent does. And there's so many kids out there that don't have either the resources, they don't have access to books, or maybe they don't have someone who values reading in their life as much as should be, because reading is just the cornerstone for a successful life, in so many ways. Reading is just so important. There are 23 million children in America who are not reading at their level or reading at all, for many reasons. But I figured, well, what can I do? I can't do much. I'm just me. I'm not a big nonprofit. I'm not a big company. I'm just me.
Exactly.
Maybe if I share their stories, maybe kids can have access to stories that way, and maybe they'll be encouraged to fall in love with reading. Maybe if I make sure all the words are on screen, maybe they'll read along with me. Maybe I can do my little teeny tiny part to build a book lover out there somewhere, So that's really where it started, the whole Storytime channel. And it's working. It's working because people are really coming back again and again and enjoying the stories. And if anything, if nobody is becoming more of a book lover, at least I know that parents and kids are spending quality time together with a book.
Wow.
There's something about being able to bring people together to have that special moment that I cherish, that I love to foster and be a part of.
That's very big. You hit a big spot here at our house, because my girlfriend is the CEO of the Library Foundation of Fort Worth.
Wow.
So she helps raise money for libraries, all the programs in the Fort Worth area. So we are obviously very big book people here. And
exactly.
I'm thrilled that you're doing it. Listening to you talk about this, I think there's another part, which is you give comfort to people. I know people are going, it's Nina. I'm getting I know you're calling it Story Time with Michelle, but it's also...
Everyone calls me Nina.
Yeah, it's Story Time with Nina.
And I always have Star nearby.
I love that.
Because it's what you said, it's comfort. And people see this and they just go, aw, I feel a little bit better now. I'm like, what, that's the least I could do. If I can make someone smile or make them feel a little bit better for a moment, why shouldn't I do that? We should all do that. We should all look for ways that we can just put a smile on someone's face or just bring them a little bit of peace and comfort. It doesn't cost you anything.
Well, I think it's fascinating. We've seen all these musicians that have been doing it.
Yeah.
And I love that you're doing this.
Thank you. Thanks. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be able to do it if my kids and my whole family wasn't on board, because it really is an undertaking,
Right.
But the fact that they're loving it, they're participating, they tell their friends to watch, they feel like they're a part of it. So that makes it so much easier to do. I mean, if it was just me, forcing it to happen,
Right.
it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't
Right.
work. Yeah, it wouldn't. But I have to tell you one more story.
Yeah.
I just remembered. Back to the Good Night Show pajama
Wow.
story from earlier.
Yes, yes.
That was always a big ordeal because I would wear the same pajamas for every single episode for years. For like the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, it was always the same pajamas.
Mhm.
And I think they said that was the biggest comment, the most feedback they would get from parents and from fans was, the pajamas, why is she always wearing the same pajamas? Why is she always I'm like, who cares? You watch Charlie Brown, he always wears the same shirt, nobody ever
Charlie Brown's the worst. Continue on.
about Charlie Brown.
Right.
So, most characters don't change.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how they pick up on what they pick
Yeah.
up on?
So, Sprout was very clever, and they said, you know what, we're going to bring in some new pajamas. And this was an undertaking. So, I had my traditional ones that were like the maroon sort of pink top, blue
Right.
top, and then they brought in 4 more sets of pajamas. And they decided to let the fans
Oh.
design one of those 4. And they made a game. This was quite a while ago. This was probably like 2012 or something. This was, it's kind of
During
early
my
days
prime
for doing
morphology
these
year.
kinds of
Right.
interactive games and stuff, especially for Sprout on their website. They didn't have much like that. So they made a game where you could go in, you could make your own pajamas, and you'd submit it. And they got something like 750,000 votes.
Wow.
750,000 submissions. I was like, God, these people really want me in some different pajamas. I mean, it was like a national debate practically. So the winning pajama was created, and it was one of the 4. And then when we started filming, it was a humongous nightmare because we would shoot everything out of order. So if you recall, one of the segments we had was sand art. Everybody loved the sand art segment. And so if there were 25 episodes and 5 pajamas, well, episodes 1 through 5, 7
Right.
through 10, and so we would do 5 episodes each. So then it came to this point where you had the studio set up with the sandbox and the lights and the set, and I would shoot out that segment for all the pajamas.
Wow.
So it was me running back and forth to the bathroom, change, quick. Oh, there's a pin here. There's a different necklace. It's a different bracelet. Back on the set. Do it 5 times. Go back to the bathroom. Change. Different hairpiece. The hairpiece was over here. Oh my gosh, it was a nightmare. They had a spreadsheet. Like, you would never want to see this spreadsheet for the rest of your life. Every episode, every pajama, every segment, check. It was hilarious. But that really made everybody happy to see all the different pajamas. But it was a huge undertaking. It was so much work, but I guess it was worth it. It was really fun.
It's so funny because people, it's fun to tell the kind of the behind the scenes because I don't think people realize
Yeah.
what goes into, even what goes into doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah, that's true.
With
That's true.
books and steps and all kinds of things.
That's
So-
right.
I know it's funny because you think you just set up the TV or the computer, but
Whatever.
a little bit more time. So I want to talk about the difference in the energy in getting up for the morning show compared to winding down for a night show.
Yeah. I think being live helps. You have like this it's natural, this energy you're going to have because it's live. And
Wow.
It helps also getting to the studio several hours in advance, so you're definitely awake. It also helps splashing your face with ice cold water first thing in the morning.
Right. I never tried that technique. That's interesting.
Ice cold water first thing in the morning when you wash your face, you will wake up. So, that show would film in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is much colder than Miami, and for some reason I always had to be up there in the winter when it was snowing.
Well,
So I would stay in a hotel or like a furnished apartment, but usually it was in a hotel. And when you first open the water, it was ice cold. So it was really nice in the morning to get that blood flowing with that. But the energy, it really comes from being live and just knowing that you are talking to an audience who is already engaged and they are ready to go. So
Right.
you really have to meet them at that level, right? But when they're counting down 5, 4, 3, it just builds. You know, you can feel it, and you just kind of want to let it all out.
Right.
And it helps having a good crew. You know, the crew is great at pumping you up and playing music sometimes when you're off air to keep the energy up. So little tricks like that help. But really, it was kind of innate. You kind of just sensed it, and you knew that you only had maybe a minute and a half to do this mountain of a task. You know, build a craft project,
Right.
or
Wow.
you know, I mean, sometimes we would do the craziest things. You know, on Halloween, we would do like a mummy sausages and a witch's brew. Pour the soda and the sherbet and get that going and the dry ice and it's like, oh my gosh, okay, 10 seconds later, I've got to toss over to Thomas the Tank Engine, you know, and get on time because they'll cut you off. It's live. You gotta go when they go. So there was a frenetic energy that kind of just helped you be excited. Now for the Goodnight Show, it was so different. Part of it is that the set was lit so differently. You know, everything was calmer. The lights were dimmer. There was more blues and purples. You know, there was just more of that vibe. We were in a much bigger studio. We were in a huge sound stage. So there was more space. You didn't feel so confined and cramped, and that energy didn't feel bottled up, you know? And we would shoot for long days, which I'm sure you're super familiar with.
Yes.
You know, long 10-hour days.
Yep.
And so you really felt like you had to pace your energy, which hats off to you, because pacing energy for me was a lot easier. I was just sitting there in my pajamas. You, with that costume, I mean, how much did it weigh?
50 pounds.
50 pounds.
Yeah, 50 pounds.
Yeah,
you.
I remember you had towels that you would soak through. You had towels in there let's dry off, and you would just soak through.
Yes. Yeah, it's lots of heat, as you can imagine, because that's the number one question I get asked about is the heat, and the weight of it. But it's it's the same thing in the aspect that the kids are ready to go, and they didn't come to see Carrie; they came to see Barney, and so once you switch over, there he is, and you just.
Do you feel like once you were all in, like a switch just kind of goes off, right?
It does.
You're seeing out, and you're like, this is it. I'm here. I'm Barney.
Yeah, you're Barney.
The kids are seeing you as Barney. You know, you can see yourself reflected in their eyes, and you can see how they see you. And when they're looking up at you like that, I mean, you're on.
Well, and it's interesting because I had to learn the same kind of thing in the fact that some kids are shy, and some kids will come running to you. So you have to kind of control your character. You know, if you go too big on a shy child, they'll cry or they'll be scared, and you don't want to do that. So you learn to read children.
That's true.
Different emotions, and I think that's fascinating as
Fascinating.
well. What have you learned? What have you learned from children all these years, entertaining them?
Well, that's a great question, because they're the best teachers. They're the best teachers. Kids are open books. They may not have as many pages as we do because we're older, but they're right there, and you just have to step back and watch. And they will teach you everything. They'll teach you love, joy, creativity. They'll teach you everything you need to know about them and about you. Because what happens is, like you said, you read a child, and that teaches you about yourself. Because then you start to say, oh, my first instinct was maybe to react like this. But by stepping back and waiting, I'm seeing that this child needs to be treated like this. And I'm learning. I'm learning more about emotions and about different children. And, I did the show before I even had kids. So it was a huge learning curve for me in that sense, that I was super open and just thrilled for the opportunity. And I really generally am kind of like that. I like to sit back and see what people give me. But it helped me be a mom later, because I had that experience before I had kids. And
it's fascinating. I was wondering about that. I was thinking time, and I was like, I bet you didn't have kids when you first did
I didn't,
this.
and actually I had another child right here. Come here. Come. Come here, kitty cat. She's my kitty cat.
Wow.
Wanna say
This is part of your crew.
meow? Part of my crew.
Why only two people?
Yeah, it's me and Carrie. We're talking.
How are you?
He's interviewing me. He's asking me questions about when I was on the Tonight Show and all that stuff. And I told him that you're one of my best helpers. You're one of my. Oh, I'm sorry, baby. Oh.
Oh.
I told him how you help with the cameras and with the lights. And
You have
she's
a
a director.
memory?
She's a very they're in the bathroom, I think. She's a very good director. She likes calling action,
Wow.
and she's gone.
It reminds me of my days on Barney. The kids would
Wow.
some of those kids would say, "You gotta boo-boo," and, yeah.
And then they're gone.
Then they're gone.
And that's something that I learned before I had kids from kids. You know, I little things like that where you just, if I hadn't had that experience prior to having my own kids, you know, it would have. I don't know. I feel like I really did learn a lot about being a mom just from being able to relate with kids beforehand. And yeah, kids, I wouldn't want to work with anyone else. I really do enjoy working with kids. And we only had kids a few times on set when we would do a segment that was a sprout stretch. So it was like a yoga segment.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
I would lead that, and we would have probably usually about 4 or 5 kids. And, you know, I would do a little meet and greet with them beforehand because
Right.
the first year we did it, a lot of kids hadn't seen the show.
Yeah.
By the second year, we were getting fans to come in and participate. And I'm sure you had that as well, where, first of all, they're like, starstruck.
Yes.
Okay, but we're trying to do a stretch here. We've got to actually
Right.
shoot something because, you know, around the clock.
Right.
And then it was, those were
Yeah.
probably my favorite days.
Well, and kids have what I don't know. Everyone understands that there's child laws, right? They can only work so many hours and this and that. So yeah, you can't mess around. And you do have to go, and then you also have to remember sometimes they are kids.
Right.
You know, and so
We had a great crew though, that they got it, and they would see, you know, oh, we've got a starer. That one's just gonna sit there and stare. They're not gonna
Yeah.
actually stretch. Let's move Johnny off to the side and bring in Sophia.
right.
Rotate Johnny back to the next group. Yeah.
You realize that too in kids' entertainment that they're going to do what they're going to do sometimes. So you just you kind of have to roll with the punches. Would you have to explain to them about I'm not Nina, I'm Michelle, or did you just always stay in character?
You know what? I always like to preserve the magic because they saw me in costume and they're so little. You know, we're talking 4 years old, 5,
Wow.
6. I'm just like a huge believer in preserving the magic. I love that. For as long as we can. I do it with my own kids. Like everything that I can keep, you know, from their childhood, I do. For better or for worse, but that's just me.
Yeah.
So whenever the kids would come, I was Nina, you know.
Okay.
I love it.
And
I love
Star,
it.
if Star was on set, Star was always alive and in character, or we wouldn't have him on set. There was never any moment where you would just see like the puppet sitting there, you know. I'm sure you did the same thing. You were very, very protective of the
Yes.
costume as well.
Wow.
Yes. It's yeah. I was gonna say it's not it's a costume, but it just represents so much that it's just so important.
Wow.
Right. I hear you. I don't mean to, but I know what you
Oh
mean.
no, yeah.
The costume, but to see it inactive or
Yes.
just kind of there, removed and not alive,
Yes.
it just better not to do that. And they were
Absolutely.
very protective
Wow.
on set, always of Star too, and preserving that magic. You know, the set was very magical, so it lent itself to that energy for nighttime and for winding down and.
You know, I think that's the magic of kids' TV. If you think about it, you had a pretty. Cause I went on the set. It was a simple set, and it was you and a puppet and Star, but it felt so much more. I mean, you could just kind of feel the energy, and I think that's the amazing thing about kids' TV is that we don't need all the lights and the right, just
Yeah.
the authenticity and the
You're right.
the love that you have for what you're doing and the passion, the kids see it, and you really don't have. I mean, you're doing a show in your kid's bedroom, and kids love it.
And you don't need much. And that's something
Yeah.
that I learned also from my time at Sprout was that, and maybe that's just something that resonates with me personally, but that simpler is better. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's why our shows have resonated and done well, because it's accessible and it's real, and maybe it's not perfect, right? There's some little mistakes here and there, but that's okay. Like, that's life. And
Yes.
you know, if something has a little edge that wasn't perfect, that's okay. You know,
Right.
we're not Disney. We're not, you know, those slick cartoon fast-paced shows. But I don't think people have that soft spot in their heart and in their memories for those slick, overproduced shows.
What is going
Yeah.
off?
It's really it's really about the authenticity. I think that's the thing, because kids can see right through you. If you're fake or cheesy, they see it.
Yeah.
And you know, I talk a lot about unconditional love. Every kid, you make every kid feel special. You know, I know you do that with your show. So I want to finish by, so what's next? What's next?
Well, that's a tough question to answer, because I think we've all been thrown into this strange time where anything we thought we had planned has gone out the window. It's actually probably pretty healthy, you know, in a certain sense, to go through this, because we plan so much, you know, and everything's gone out the window, and everything's got to change now, and everything's going to be done in a different way, and we don't know what that means.
Right.
Right? I think it's kind of exciting, and I feel like it's going to be sort of a fresh start, and things that I had planned, I'm no longer planning, because I don't know when or how I'll get those things done. But other things have started to sprout, if you will. No pun intended. But
Nice way to bring that all the way around.
you know,
Yeah.
I didn't intend on saying that, but other things have come up just organically, and I feel like I've always been a fan of letting things kind of happen in that way. So I'm not sure what's going to happen next. I was actually interviewed recently on Telemundo. They wanted to feature Storytime with Michelle, the YouTube channel.
Oh, I love it.
Wow.
And I was so excited. So I did that, and I had been kind of mulling the idea of throwing in some arts and crafts things to my channel to kind of, you know, grow it, do other things besides storytelling, maybe take the story to an arts and crafts, you know, little world, you know, take a story
Wow.
and maybe grow from there. And so I threw it out there on that news segment, and now I'm like, well, now I got to do it.
Right.
Set it to the world. And so my kids are so excited about it. And today we did our first one. We read a story. You know, one of the characters in the story makes a bird feeder, a birdhouse. So we made one and we filmed it. And who knows? You know,
That's something I can do coming soon to LJPCBM Reacts. We'll see what happens. Continue on.
maybe that's my next avenue. Maybe that's the path I'm going to go down. All I know is that I'm going to keep telling stories, keep helping kids fall in love with reading, making reading fun, making reading accessible. I feel like I'm really passionate about that. So no matter where I go, what other acting jobs might come up, I feel like that is always going to be a cornerstone of what I do, because I really do love reading and I value it so much.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, and everyone know we will be telling you how to find Michelle's show. So we will be pushing that too. We'll have links and all kinds of stuff. Michelle, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been really nice catching up with you, and I'm so happy to see you, to hear you, to know that you're doing well, and that you're doing this channel and these shows so that people can catch up with their, you know, favorite people that they were like, oh, I wonder what happened to them. You know, this is really special.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for being here. And I am so happy for you. So good to see you again. And it didn't really surprise me when I heard you were doing this show, because I thought, let's see what Michelle would do. So I think it is wonderful. Well,
you.
thank you very much. Thank you, Purple Roads fans. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your Purple Road. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
But that was wild. Check out Michelle's YouTube channel, Storytime Michelle, which I'll react to in the future of LJPCBM React. If it's alright, Michelle. So that was Purple Roads, episode 23. Michelle led by Nina for the Goodnight Show. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. So far, this episode went to be a success. Anyways, guys, that wraps up for LJPCBM Reacts, episode number 502. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one, which is going to be Purple Roads, episode 24. Catherine Polly, who is Beth, and I think the one part about Beth is that she heard by thinking I like Careful Beth in the episode Boyfriend's Vlogs. So until next time, Sue Jerry, goodbye, peace out, baby. We get more to react to you guys very soon. Till then, Jumper say out. See ya. See if we're clear enough, because we need to get ready for LJPCBM Reacts. Episode number 503. Bam. Oh, sleeping party. Bam. Carrie Simpson's a great boy pain. Freaking out. It's never be in that vlog series I had to work on. Next up. Okay, it's done. Clear. Everything, so. Well, that was way too early about this LJPCBM React episode, but well. But you know. Opening, closing, yeah. Well, at least I'm gonna do something before I get back to you. But anyway, dream about Zach Peters last night or this morning. Okay. Oh, that's a lot of money so far. Wow. Mr. Beast. Never heard of that guy, but let's see what happens. Yeah. I'm thinking about getting ready for the 25th birthday coming up. So, I gotta do one more Down with Love and we'll be done. So, I'll be right back. We'll do more LJPCBM episodes. Be right back. I'm back, folks. Sorry for the delay. I'm just getting ready to start making LJPCBM React episode number 500 and 500 it's free right now because it's storming outside right now, and I'm about to begin this now because it's a huge episode, you know, and I wanted to begin this, so there you go. Let's see what we got. Okay. Hello guys, this is Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM Reacts, episode 503, and today I'll be reacting to Purple Roads, episode number 24, Catherine Poet from Barefoot Barney Friends. And I'm going to react to this beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour, and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show, Barney and Friends. Now, my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Hello, Purple Roads fans. Welcome to another episode. I am so excited today. I have Catherine Pulley, who played Beth on season 700 and 800. She was one of the kids that was with me, and this is just so special. And Catherine, it's been a long time. I am thrilled you're here. How are you?
I'm good. It's so great to see you. I'm excited to be here.
Wow.
I'm really good. It's crazy because it was so long ago, but in some ways it really doesn't seem like that long ago. I remember everything.
It's the part I love so much about doing these and talking with Barney people is it's like I talked to you yesterday. Even though you're obviously a lot more grown up than the last time I saw you, but the memories are there.
Yes.
And you know, we all work together so much. I think it's just so special when we can do these things.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get, obviously everyone wants to hear about all the Barney stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of go backwards or forward a little bit. And what have you been doing since Barney?
Yeah, so before Barney I wasn't acting at all, and after Barney I didn't act at all. It was kind of a blip, but it was just a really cool experience. But afterwards, I continued to just go back to school. I went to college, and I'm actually still in school. I'm now living in New York. I'm a grad student, so I'm about to finish up my last bit of school ever, finally. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, it's just funny because I had this whole like whirlwind acting thing, and then after that, I kind of just returned to regular life and have been doing that since.
What have you been studying?
I study computer science, so I'm getting my master's now, and yeah, graduating at the end of the summer. It's a lot of work, so I'm really ready to finish up and like start working.
So that it's an interesting point. So you just did acting once, and that was something you just wanted to do, or was it a desire, or how did you step into all that?
Well, so I had a moment when I was maybe 9, and I think I was in a school play, and I really enjoyed it, and so I thought this would be fun to try out acting classes. So I did do an acting class, just it was something in Dallas. It wasn't really like film oriented necessarily, but they just so happened to have an open casting call for Barney one of the days that I was taking the class. And it's such a funny story because my parents didn't know, neither did I. We didn't know anything about anything really in this world. But I had always begged to have a surprise birthday party. And so my parents, it was right around my birthday when I auditioned, and they needed me out of the house. So they had gotten this notice from the acting class that I was joined to for the summer. Oh, we have an open casting call. We didn't know what that was, but we're like, okay, that would be perfect. We'll get her out of the house for a couple of hours, and then, never hear from again.
Right.
I guess they had been casting not with open casting calls before that, and maybe they were still looking for a couple people. I don't know how many more people they were looking for, but I just went in, and I think the first audition that I did, it was a little bit long, so there were like multiple rooms, and the way that I read it later was maybe depending on if you were a good fit, you continued on, so it could have been shorter or longer.
Right.
So that's just to say, like the next day, there was an article in the paper about the auditions, and I had relayed to my parents, like, oh, I went to this room, and they were reading, and it basically said something along those lines, like, kids who moved on went to multiple rooms, so they were kind of scratching their head, like, oh, maybe she will get a call back, like, because she seemed to have gone to like both rooms.
Right.
And I think that worried them. I was very excited, but I think we were worried because we were like, what are we getting ourselves into? So, I mean, that's really how it started, and I think there were a few callbacks, but it was also exciting that there was no way we were going to say no. But we were sort of navigating it blind, no real experience with it, learning as we went.
Did you understand how big Barney was at that time?
I did. I mean, as a young child, I had loved it, so I thought it was so cool. So I definitely knew what it was, and by the time that I was on it, I mean, it was pretty late in the game.
Wow.
Well, not late in the game, but 700. So there had been 6 seasons before mine.
Right, but this was, as you were, and sorry to interrupt you, I was on tour at that point, and so they had, if you didn't know all this, they had stopped the production, and so they were getting ready, this was a big relaunch is what they were doing.
Okay,
with this.
I knew that, yeah, I think so. I guess when I was maybe in the age where you watch Barney, I have pictures of myself like with Barney themed birthdays, so I definitely knew what it was. I loved it, and that's why I definitely thought it was really cool because I knew what I was auditioning for.
And then did you realize, okay, so you're auditioning, but did you ever think, well, what if I get it? Like, now I've got to act.
No, I mean, not at all. I didn't think I would get it, and I mean, my parents are confident in me, but they didn't think I would get it either. I think every callback it was just like, well, I guess we'll go again. I mean, why not?
Right.
Until the last call, and it was funny because I initially auditioned on when I was having a birthday party, but I guess I'd had that early because the day that I got the call, they got the role was my actual birthday. So it was
Wow.
like a really fun birthday present. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know, and I also didn't know, not only did I not necessarily think I was going to get it, but I also didn't know what getting the role would mean. Like, I didn't really know what it would look like because I hadn't been around any type of filming before.
Right.
So it was a sort of a black box when I went into it.
Wow.
You know, and it's interesting. I don't think people realize how big of a production it was. You know, with the 3 different studios and all the in that studio, all the editing was everything was there. So it was a lot of people. Was that
Wow.
overwhelming to you with everyone and everything involved?
Yes, although one cool thing about me, like my experience, and this was the same for, I guess, the only other person that had this who went on to do 700 and 800 was Michaela.
Mm-hmm.
But we started in a video. So before we even started Series 700, we filmed the Christmas video.
It was my memory. But so you were in the Christmas video, the Christmas Star,
Yeah.
which was my first video.
And so that was well, at least I think 2/3 of it was in Las Colinas.
Yes.
The old studio. So we kind of got to come in even before we met all the other kids. It was interesting. I think we did the video and then the real like season started. So we got to A, see the old studio, but B, kind of, I felt like it was a nice introduction. We got to know everyone and before we went into like the regular season filming. And that studio was so cool. I remember they have all these props. I guess they film a lot of stuff there, so they have all these props from like different movies. I remember they had like a huge just chair. It was for some movie where they shrunk people or I don't know. So we always try to climb up on the chair and stuff. But I think that it was a good introduction because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they did, that was the big set, but I don't know if they did all the stuff there. Was that just the set?
I think we did most of it there. Maybe not the whole, but we did most of it. Was that, you know, I remember that being a very big production.
Yeah.
Was it weird for you being, you know, it was filmed in August and September and it was hot and we were in thick snow and...
That's what I was going to say. That was my favorite part about it is there was all this fake snow. And it looked really realistic. I think it was a mixture of things, but one of the things that it was like ripped up plastic bags, so it was really light and fluffy. And I would always leave the set with like all that stuff in my shoes. And in between takes, we were always kind of messing with it, and I think then we'd kind of get in trouble because we were just playing with it. But yeah, I mean, I actually thought probably was the most involved set ultimately that I had because it was transformed into winter, and it was August when we were filming. But another cool thing about that, I think, was because we must have started in August, I don't know that we had school then. So we got like an introduction to filming before we had to do school in Barney. And that was kind of nice.
So it's really interesting. I did not realize you were in that video. And I did not realize that. And that's such an interesting story. I don't know if you realize that was also when 9/11 happened.
Yeah. It was. And
I've talked about this a lot on this show because I found out about it before you all did. Because I was done early that day and they said, you know, don't tell the kids. We want to let their parents tell them. And all of that. I'm very curious your experience and what you remember of that.
Yeah. It's interesting that you asked that. I was wondering if you were going to it. It's a very vivid memory because I was actually, so I guess for those who don't know, you go in the morning, you get dressed, and you also get makeup. And it's not heavy makeup, but because the lights make you pale, you need all this like foundation.
Right.
So I was getting my makeup done with Miss Jeannie, and she had received a call, and I want to say it was from her husband, because he was at the airport. And so she sounded worried, and Miss Jeannie's always like so happy, so we would always talk and banter, and she got on the phone for a little, and but she was still in the room, and she sounded worried. So when she hung up, and I knew she'd said something about a plane. I was like, what's going on, and she said, which was the right thing to do, but she said, like, a plane crashed, but no one was hurt. Which in my mind, I mean, I was like 9, so I don't know how I could really today hear like a plane crash and no one was hurt. That doesn't make sense. But at the time, I accepted it. I was like, oh, okay, so it's not a huge deal, but like something has happened. That was my first indication that something was off. And then she was very professional, because then she I think that must have been when the first one hit. So there was still a lot to come, but she knew, but she just kept working, and like she didn't let the kids know.
Right.
And everyone did a really good job of not seeming super stressed out. But I do remember progressively throughout the day, and I think we ended early that day. I remember people coming in and out of, like, maybe we were filming and people whispering. There were a lot of whispers, and I remember that. And then we went home kind of early, but I'll always remember overhearing Miss Jeannie. And the other thing I remember somehow, like, profoundly, is the next day, I think we were back filming and we had a moment of silence. And I think just as the kids, like, we always had these sound checks. Sometimes I guess, I don't really know what it did, but we would have to be dead silent for a minute.
Right.
We all really had trouble. I know I had trouble keeping a straight face. Whenever we were told to be silent, I was always cracking up. I feel like I was a big, like, jokester. And so when we had this moment of silence, it wasn't an audio check, but it like felt like an audio check. And I kind of remember stifling giggles, and looking back on it, it just seems very inappropriate, but also we just didn't really understand what was going on.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, I've always thought that everyone did an amazing job of protecting us. I mean, not only in that moment, also throughout the whole filming, but in that particular instance, people really thought about how to tell us or what to tell us. They were careful about it. So yeah, that's a huge memory for me, because all the rest of my friends were in school, and so they have their own memories of that, and then I have my experience with that.
Wow.
Do you remember when we had the moment of silence? When we
Yeah.
came back?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I've talked about that for a lot, because I was in the suit.
Yeah. What was it like for you?
It was very surreal. Like I said, they immediately came to all of us and said, "Don't tell the kids." So we all, they were on top of that from the beginning, because they wanted your parents to handle it the way that your parents wanted to handle it, which we all knew that was appropriate. But yeah, it was very surreal. Here I am in the happy, Barney that everyone loves, and then you're having this moment. And I think I felt a responsibility for the rest of that. Like, I knew we needed to laugh and love and good. And so I think that video, which I've talked about before, I think there was probably an extra level of the importance of what we were doing. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was interesting, because it was right about, we were getting ready for the series and all this new, and so everyone was very excited about that. And then here, the world changed, which is crazy as we're going through that right now, as you're sitting at your house and I'm sitting at my house.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah. But I love that Barney's brought us back together once again.
Me too. I'm so happy. But yeah, I do have to say, in everything, but that moment in particular,
Wow.
everyone was so thoughtful about the kids.
Exactly.
And that was sort of something I felt all the way through.
So we go to PBS. We move to Carrollton.
Yep.
We go to PBS, and you've got to remember when we had Barney Camp.
Mm-hmm.
When we all got together and you got to meet. Now, you had already met us, right?
Yeah. I felt like an old pro, I think.
So you already knew, obviously, that we were in the costumes, and you had seen the costumes, and you had dealt with all that.
Yeah.
Which makes this even more interesting. What was that experience for you, and did you feel like you kind of needed to help the other kids, that it was a completely new experience for them?
Yeah, it's funny because so many of my memories are so vivid, but I can't remember Barney Camp all that well. I mean, I do remember coming in with Michaela and kind of feeling like, oh, we know what's going on.
Right.
But I guess the set was still brand new for us. We had never seen the caboose set. And so that was all new. I remember it being really fun to meet the rest of the kids because I think the other two boys who did the video with us were, for whatever reason, not able to film. I think maybe they had problems with the school cooperating or something like that. So we didn't have them. So we were really excited to meet the other kids that were coming in and to see the new set because I think we'd been talking about it when we were in Las Colinas, like Jim talking about the new set and how cool it was going to be. But other than that, I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember Barney Camp all that well. Yeah.
Well,
just being a set.
If you don't, what Barney Camp is we kind of prepare you all. So we would do a dance. You would see us out of costume. You would see us in costume. They usually let the kids get in the costume. We prepared you because I'm swinging a tail and big old hips, and so if you get bumped, try not to blow a line and all of that, and then so much dancing in Barney, getting used to that aspect of these big dinosaurs moving as much as we were moving.
Yeah, for sure. It was you had to watch out for it, yeah. And
did you remember getting in the suit? Did you try to get in the suit?
I don't think I did. I remember the suit being very hot because I remember heat just like emanating from it. Even when we held your hand, like when we did "I Love You" and stuff.
Right.
Remember, like it was just so hot, and I can't imagine what it was actually like for you because we could feel it.
Right. Interesting.
I don't know if I don't think I got in the suit. I definitely tried on as many costumes as possible because I always asked wardrobe to allow me to like put on the costumes, but I don't think I got in the actual suit.
Excuse me.
It was heavy. I mean, it looks heavy.
Wow.
It was. Yeah, it was. So we get to production. What was? I guess I'll start off with what was your favorite parts about production?
My favorite parts about production, and it's funny, but it's probably exactly why I didn't necessarily continue acting. My favorite parts about production were all the parts not filming. But there were a lot of them. Like I loved wardrobe and like always like trying on costumes. I loved hanging out like in the makeup room. I loved the kids, and we would get breaks every so often, and we would just get to play because a bunch of the props that were from older episodes we just got to play with, and so I loved playing around on set. In between takes was so fun because the sets were so intricate and fully built out and just really fun to play on. So we would, run around them, and then the actual acting part and the actual filming, I don't think that was like my favorite part because I don't think I was really ever an actor at heart. But all the interactions in between, I had so much fun. And also interacting with the grown-ups. It was such a weird experience, but really formative because we were pretty young, but we were mostly surrounded by adults who were very kind and, but still it wasn't like being at school. It was a different type of experience, and I think it kind of helped us mature more quickly.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But some of the cool sets, like, I was thinking about my favorite set, and I don't know if you remember, I think it was the last episode I ever did, but it was BJ's Really Cool House.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah.
That was so cool. They had a pickle machine that worked, and running water in a shower, and a sink that worked. So it was those moments, hanging out with, like, the prop guys, and those moments where we got to play with the sets and
Yeah, I talk about being that vlogs. Continue on.
run up and down the hills like that. I loved, or playing on the playground. Like we actually got to swing, and that was my favorite part for sure.
It's so funny. I love doing this with kids from the show because the perspectives are so different, and so I love hearing the other perspective. For us, we knew we had to get the takes right. because we could go a lot, and if the kids forgot a line or something like that, did you feel pressure to get your line down or a dance step, or did you memorize it all weekend? Did you kind of wing it? I'm curious how
Yeah,
your process was.
I didn't ever really feel pressure. I remember there were certain takes, certain like dances especially, where we would have to do them again and again and again, and maybe like the 10th take, it was like, we really need to get this right because I was so tired and I just wanted to go home. But no, I would usually, so what we would get the scripts a couple weeks before, and we had like we would film for a week, but then the Thursday, Friday before that, we would rehearse and we would do a table read, and so we had a lot of time to learn our lines, and we had already gone through them a lot, so that was never too difficult, and the scenes that we did were never too long, right? Like I feel like the longest scenes were dance scenes. We never really had an extended period where we would have to like remember dialogue, and we always knew what we were shooting that day, so if we forgot, we could like look over it.
Right.
I've never, and I'm still a terrible dancer, so that was a little bit hard for me, the dancing. And those could take a long time because everything had to be perfect. But I never felt pressure. If anything, I just was like, I'm exhausted. I wanna be done. But no, and everyone was kind when you messed up too. I feel like the environment, even if they were a little bit upset inside, I think there was that, and that's kind of what I meant by like the adults really protected us. Like there was sort of that mindset of don't let them see if you're frustrated with them. So I never felt if you messed up or if this person messed up that you were in trouble,
Well, and sure, there was definitely not that. It was just we were feeling the same way. All right, I've done this 10 times. I'm ready. I'm ready to move on. So you didn't want to be the one responsible.
Well, I felt the worst for you, yeah, because, and even I remember, like, Miss Marilee would say, like, guys, Carrie's in that suit. You guys got to get this right, because you were in a really, really hot suit. And so we were, fine. We were a little tired, but you were the one, like, drenched in the suit and doing a dance if you had to jump or stuff. So I always felt like, we better get this right for Carrie. Kyle and Jeff were BJ and Baby Bob.
Yes.
So
wow.
yeah, we felt bad for you guys, but we were fine.
That's funny. We just actually had Jeff on the other day, and Julie.
Oh yeah. Did they play on together?
No, they were on separate.
Okay.
And just you might see that sometime coming up. We may have them both on together. But let's talk about that. What was it like for you to because most people don't understand that there was a body and there was a voice.
Yes.
And obviously Dean Went was my good friend Dean Went was my voice. What was it like for you dealing with that aspect of the body and the voices being separate?
Well,
was there anything to it?
There wasn't a lot. I mean, I had no idea coming in, so that it was just interesting. It was more just like an interesting fact. And when I tell people who ask about the filming, oh, did you know like the body is separate from the voice? They're always very surprised. But I remember that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Jeff's costume. Jeff was Baby Bob. His mouth was like more automated. So at least
I think it. Well, I was going to say, was it BJ? I know what you're talking about with that.
Maybe it could have been, I feel like it was one of them, but maybe not both.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was sort of automated so that they didn't have to move the mouth. And when the voice moves from the audio room, like their mouth moved too.
Right.
But then with you had to bite that thing, right? Like you had a bar, and whenever you were supposed to talk, so you really had to know your lines because you had to basically say them.
Yes.
You just weren't saying them.
Right.
That was looked really hard.
Definitely a challenge. But what it did for me is I was really focused, right? Because I can't see very well, so I've got people running around that I don't want to knock over, and then I've got to be, it's the old like chewing gum, rubbing your belly, and doing this kind of thing, right? Because you're doing all those kind kind of things. Yeah, it was a challenge.
Well, I also remember in between takes, the voices they were all very funny. I think especially Julie.
Yes.
And they would say crazy things. And we had speakers on the set. So speakers would be close to wherever we were filming, and then they were maybe in a room down the hall. We wouldn't really see them day to day, but we would hear them all day. And so in between takes, and then maybe we were relearning the dance or like getting ready to film again, they would just be like joking back and forth. They had really good banter, but some of it was above our head. I feel like they had adult senses of humor, and we were like, why is that funny? But they were hilarious, and sometimes they do it in their own voice, and sometimes they do it in the dinosaur voices, and so it did like really lighten up the mood in between takes, because they were just like joking around.
We talked about this before on the show, where I did with Julie, because I don't know if you realize they also had mute buttons.
No, I didn't notice that.
We could hear them.
Really?
Yes, because they get to the point where they'd be talking so much that the directors would get mad at them. So
I remember that.
they installed mute buttons so they could still talk to us. So if you ever noticed one of the body dinos laughing, it was because they were cutting jokes in our head all the time.
That's so funny. I can imagine, because I kind of do remember, like, he would be talking, and then either Jeff or Fred would be like, okay, guys, come on. We're trying to, like, work or whatever.
The other aspect of this, with the voice and the body being different, that people wouldn't know, is that you would be doing a table read with the voices.
Yeah.
And then you would go do a dance rehearsal with the bodies.
Yeah.
Because we never showed up to voice, to the table read. Bodies never did.
Yeah.
And obviously the voices never showed up to dance rehearsal.
Right.
So that is a different experience for you. What was that like?
Yeah, that's right. I remember Dean had a couple other voices that he did. I'm trying to remember. I feel like
Yeah, probably did.
Say something from The Lion King, or maybe it was Donald Duck. We would always ask him to do his other voice. That was so funny. But that's right. Yeah, we would do the table read with all the actors and the voice actors, and then we would see you when we did the actual rehearsal.
Yeah.
I would say overall we definitely spent more time with you and Jeff and Kyle, because you're on set most of the time.
Yeah.
And so you guys were there, and they were of course there, but they were in their recording rooms. I remember this weird story, and I hope I didn't make this up in my head, but there was a termite infection, and Dean was like talking, and then in that audio room, and then all the termites came out, and he like freaked out. I remember that. Well, except
So
maybe
funny.
it's just thinking of mine.
No, yeah, as you're saying it, and I always say on this show, I did it for so long that I have forgotten a lot of things, and a lot of times when I see visuals or I hear these stories, but as you're saying this, I'm like, yeah, I think that there was some aspect of that did happen.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
It was.
When you were doing scenes, were you conscious of, so were you thinking, I need to stay out of their way? Or did you just stick to what you were doing, and if we bumped into you, we bumped into you? I mean, how do you do that? Because you can't show that.
Right.
So do you just say, all right, if he bumps into me, he bumps into me, or do you keep an eye on me the whole time?
We definitely, I mean, if you really think about it, I guess a lot of the dances, it was a little more rare to be right in your vicinity, right? Like you were there, but I feel like a lot of the dances we did, we were interacting, like touching the children more. If we were like clapping hands or something like that.
Yeah.
The moments when we were around you, yes, we were very careful, and way more, I think, for y'all's sake. I mean, we were just worried. Again, like you guys had a way harder job. We were just in our regular plain clothes. I mean, they weren't our clothes, but they were just children's clothes. So it wasn't too hard. But I feel like there were moments when you guys would sort of dance on the side, and then we would sort of dance over here. So it wasn't always like we were always going to run into each other, but we definitely were very mindful of it, and we would have to concentrate on not, running over into your tail, like you said, because the tail was really heavy. If you did get hit by the tail, you would fall down.
Right.
It looked light, but it was heavy.
Right.
And also, I think, I think I maybe had more scenes. I remember doing like a game with Jeff, so with Baby Bop.
Yeah.
And I did always feel like I had to get it right, because for him it was harder. He had to see, I remember him not always being able to see. Now that we talk about the eyes, like, he did see through the eyes, but I mean, if his head sort of like got tilted down and all in the jumping,
Right.
it would be hard to like readjust it himself. And so if we were doing things where you needed hand-eye coordination, it was sort of up to us to guide them, and we better not mess up, but also kind of correct for that. Like, maybe he would put his hand out, and then I would match it, because he just couldn't see very well. Like, we could at least see.
Right.
I think there was a sneezing song that he constantly, it was keep your sneeze to yourself, and he constantly had to say, like, achoo, and so his head was like flopping down, and I remember that causing a lot of it.
That caused me to react to a review of, or just a Boys Vlog episode called Terrific Marriage. Continue on.
So, Catherine, I've been sitting here in my office, and I'm looking at a picture of you, and so I had to go get this.
Okay.
So, look what I have.
I love this picture.
Wow.
That is hanging in my room.
Yeah, that's the first cast of kids when I did the show, and it's very special to me. So, have you kept up with any of them? What are your memories of that group?
Yeah, I mean, so we're all friends on social media and stuff, so I keep tabs on them, and it's always interesting to see what they're doing. I mean, obviously, a couple of them really went far with acting.
Selena and Demi. People know Selena and Demi have obviously done pretty well. And Hayden was on my other podcast, Purple Tales.
Yeah, which I react to, and I'll just been reacting every time. Continue on.
Acting, right?
She is still acting.
I think I saw her in SVU, which was so cool.
Yeah.
And I think those might be the three that continue to act. I don't know that many from our cast continue to. I don't talk to them on a regular basis, but if I were to ever run into one of them, it would be kind of like you and me, like just old times.
Right.
I do talk to Miss Hurlbut every once in a while.
And she was the teacher. We had her on Purple Tales as well.
Which I talked about recently in some of the eligibility ads last year. Continue on.
I know she was so close with all of you.
Yes, I mean, she really made the experience. I guess if you were to say, like, when I say not my favorite parts weren't always filming, but the things in between, that was also a big one.
Yeah.
She made the classroom so much fun. So it was just so much fun to go to school with the other kids and with her. It has been a little weird to see, maybe not weird anymore, but at first it was weird to see Selena and Demi become so famous, because back then we had been, such good friends, and I was like, wow, it's the same way as if anyone that you knew got really famous. It's just weird to see them in a different context, where everybody knows them, because you're like, oh wait, that's your friend, like, what's going on? But then over time, it just became so normal, and now it doesn't even feel like anything. But at first, it was like, wow, this is so crazy. But we are all, almost all of us are connected on Instagram, Facebook, whatnot, and every once in a while we'll chat because we became close. It was a long time together.
Well, it's funny that you're saying that, because obviously I saw Selena and Demi career explode as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I see them just like I see you, and back at that time, what we were doing together was so special. And my girlfriend has a 13, 15-year-old, and I found the other day when I was going through my stuff cards that you all made, Christmas and birthday cards. And one says Demi Lovato and one says Selena, and they freaked out. I'm like, but to me that's Demi, right?
Exactly.
Or it's Selena, or seeing you, Catherine, and my goodness. So it's hard to explain the relationship, but I think because we were just all in this together.
Yeah.
We were doing something, and that was very special. I'd been with Barney for 10 years at that point.
Wow.
So I knew, how important what we were doing. But this was my first time doing production, so it was very exciting for me. And then Dean was new at that time, so we were building this friendship. I had known Jeff Ayers forever, and I loved him to death. And Kyle was on tour with me. And so I think...
I didn't realize you had been for 10 years before that. I thought you were just coming in. What were you doing with them for that long?
So I did birthday parties originally, and then I was the second one, so I did the promotion. Like, if you've ever seen the famous picture of Barney in the back of the day on People magazine, that was actually me.
Oh.
And then I did sing-alongs all over the country for 5 years. I did Radio City Music, Radio City Live. And then I did...
which I've been, it was one of my first favorite moments with Barney at the time, with Bob West's Barney, things like that to see on.
I did Barney's Big Surprise and Barney's Musical Castle, so I traveled for 5 years.
Wow.
And Kyle was on those tours with me.
Wow.
So when that was all happening, I was like, oh my gosh, we have to have Kyle. I just love that guy to death. But I knew Julie and Patty going into this because I worked with them in '94. So it was kind of this mix of everything. I was still on the road when they were actually doing those auditions for the kids.
Okay.
So I was hearing the stories because I knew it's hard for people to understand how big of a deal that was.
Yeah.
Thousands of kids that auditioned for one of the roles that you got.
Yeah, it was a lot of. I mean, I just remember even in my audition, there were so many kids. It was a hot summer day in Dallas, Texas, so we were like standing outside. But yeah, I guess I didn't realize how long you've been working for them. And it's funny, how was the tour? Because when at some point you age out, so
Right.
you tall, or you had, I think I was 11, and we had in my cast, there must have been maybe 11 kids, maybe split evenly between boys and girls, and I would say half of them we were all roughly the same age, but maybe half of us were like in the 9, 10 range, and then the other half were like 7, 8 range.
Right.
So those kids, I think it was like Kayla, who was Whitney, and I don't remember if Michaela did it. Grayson,
yeah.
so it was maybe a handful who did another series,
Right.
but the other half of us sort of had aged out, and I was asked to go on the tour, but at that point, because my family we really still didn't really know what was going on, it just wasn't going to work for us. And I think you needed someone to go with you. And I have an older sister who was starting high school, so it was just too logistically complicated. But I do remember that Hayden did it, and I remember when you guys came back around to Dallas and we were going to see it, and I kind of wondered what I missed out on because it looked like so much fun.
It's an amazing experience. I did the first one, so Barney's Big Surprise in '96, and I did that for 2 years before Magical Castle. Getting to tour the world's incredible,
Wow.
But you also don't come home for 9 months. And back then, I'm trying not to age myself too much, but we didn't really have the internet, and we definitely didn't have smartphones. I mean, I had a pager at one point. And so when you left, you were gone.
Yeah.
Now these days you could stay. I mean, look at you and I are sitting here having a conversation. Yeah, there was no FaceTime. There wasn't Zoom. There wasn't these things. I had a flip phone. I had a pager. Now it's so excited I had a flip phone. So I talked to my family like once a week, but I was gone. There was no social media, so no one even really knew what I was doing. I couldn't post pictures. So it was incredible, but when they offered me to come do the TV show, I was like, yeah, it's time to come home. I mean, you can only do that for so long before, it gets to you. I think Hayden enjoyed it, and you would have. I think you would have enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
But I think, that was always the toughest part. It was well, no, losing your kids.
Oh.
You guys probably never knew how hard it was on us, right? We can't, well, we know it was hard on you, and so we can't show it. Because we know how hard it is. We know it's coming.
Yeah.
Right? I had gone through several cats, even on the tour. They would let them be a little bit older, but, you get to know these families and the kids, and then they're gone. So, it was always tough on us too. I can remember saying goodbye to you. I can remember saying goodbye to Grayson. I can remember Hayden. Well, it was horrible because she was crying. It was horrible. Mm-hmm. And she was going on tour, and I was so happy for her, but I wasn't going on tour, so.
Oh, so you guys weren't, okay.
I did the tours beforehand.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I did the tours beforehand. I don't know for Kyle, but for me, 5 years, and he probably would say the same.
Yeah. Well, do you remember, because the last thing that I did was a video, so Series 800 wrapped, and then we did Barney's Terrific Manners. And in that video it was me, Selena, Zach, and Michaela, and Grayson. I think it was
back to Las Colinas.
We went back to Las Colinas, that's right. And I guess it was...
Yeah, I heard about Best Matters, your invitation from Fun. I got the DVD copy in my house. Continue on.
But we ended filming the Alice in Wonderland scene.
Yes.
Wow.
And I was the March hare, and I had a fat suit. And I remember I had like a fat suit underneath and then an outfit. And so when we had lunch or breaks, I would get like part of it taken off, but I still had the fat suit. And so I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I was like walking around making sure everyone saw me in my fat suit. And I don't know, I just thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
But I think at that time, I remember this very vividly. In that moment, I remember wrapping the video, and that was our last scene. And we were at least I was in a big costume, and I think it was sort of late in the day, and I was like kind of ready to get the scene right and just be done. And it didn't fully dawn on me, although logically I guess I knew that was the last scene that I was doing in Barney, like that was it. And really that was the last thing I did acting ever.
Wow.
And I think when we wrapped, I was a little bit relieved. I was like, yes, we finished the video. This is so exciting. We're done. And like, great. And I remember some of the other kids crying. And I was like, but this is so like exciting. Are we done? But it's more just because in that moment, it didn't fully like hit me. This had been my life for a while, and it was just over. I don't know. It's just interesting looking back on that moment, because there was always a sense of excitement when you finally get the scene right and you're like, cut, like it's good.
Right.
But it was also, the end. But that was a fun movie because we had all those, like, I remember we had so many cookies and pastries around because we had, it was, Miss Vera Good, I think, was the writer of this children's manners book. So we had this whole party for her, and, like, that set was very cool. I really liked that set.
Okay, two things. The memories are coming all over the place here on that. Did you have a moment later where you cried when you did realize, like so the video's over and you go home and you realize that was it?
It was much later. The moment for me that's the most poignant, I think, is I and this is one of my fond memories of Selena, actually, is I remember we wrapped and she was crying and I was happy just to like, okay, we're done, I get out of the suit, Right. And Miss Emily, who was the child wrangler, and I actually read that she passed away, which is great.
It was sad. Hold on. Continue.
She was the most amazing. I mean, she was like our mom on set and
Yeah.
comforted everyone. And I remember she was comforting Selena, and she was really good at like giving kids what they needed. So like Selena was upset, and I was sort of like happy, and she was kind of going between us, and I was asking her like, why is she crying? And Miss Marilee said, and I always remember this because she didn't say it with a hint of sarcasm or anything. She was just being, she was like, some people are sad if something good ends. And I was like, huh. And then I kind of like walked off. And then that moment, again, like she wasn't trying to be sarcastic. She was just sort of like laying it out there for me. And I don't think I realized until much later, like months, like, wow, I can't believe this piece of my life is gone. And I did cry, but it came much later for me. It didn't hit me the same way that I think it hit some other people. But it made total sense because
Yeah.
it was a big period that was ending.
Well, and that did make sense, and I don't know that people understand. A video takes a lot longer to record,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a much bigger process. There's a bigger budget, bigger set, like you're talking about wardrobe. So I understand what you were saying because there was definitely an aspect of us going, oh my, we've been rehearsals and filming, and
Yeah.
there is a sense of accomplishment.
Like you're happy. Well, and it was also I think one of the moments
Excuse me.
That did reinforce for me that it was like that wasn't necessarily my calling. Like I could not have had more fun doing it, but I always was excited to wrap up and be like, yes, we did it, and then now we get to go play and hang out with each other. Whereas I did see definitely for some kids like their favorite part was the filming, which makes total sense, but
Right.
For me, like it never was, and so that was a really clear indication that I like the experience, but not necessarily the acting part of it. I loved all the middle parts of it, and so when when the director said cut, it was like now I can goof around with my friends and I can like hang out with everyone, and that's so fun. But when you're actually filming, you have to like act,
Right.
and that I didn't really want to do that.
It's interesting. I remember on that video that scene you're talking about being very tedious. I remember that taking a long time.
Yeah.
There were several scenes it was a big Alice in Wonderland, so there was a big table and the costumes and
A whole like dance. I had to stuff a cookie in my mouth and then spit it out. And I thought it was really fun the first time, but I think like the fifth time I was like, I can't do it anymore. I'm so full. But we were running around the table, and so like when we did say like yes, we got it right, I was like yes, we're done. It was so exciting. And do you remember Whitney was the cat? It was Kayla, but
Yes.
she was Whitney, and she was the cat in Alice in Wonderland. So she had that like smile. She had a really cool
Wow.
and she was like perched up in the tree. Those are cool costumes. I think Zach was the Mad Hatter.
yes.
And Selena was Alice. She had a really pretty dress. I have some cute pictures of that. But that was a good one to end on. A good scene to end on.
Did you? I'm kidding. Now I'm thinking about all this. Was there a competition like I want to be the cat, or was everyone happy with the roles they got, or did you all jealous of what other people were doing?
I think by that point, no. I felt like we all had. So I remember being on a lot of episodes with certain people.
And
So
then they did that on purpose, by the way.
I think I know what.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
I felt. Tell me if I'm wrong. I felt that. So I was on a lot of episodes with Selena. I was on a lot of episodes with Kayla.
Yeah.
And obviously, I got to know all the other kids because we overlapped because they would be in the next episode.
Right.
But for example, I wasn't on as many with Demi. I wasn't on as many with Hayden. And I always assumed, we balance each other out. So I was and always have been kind of like tomboyish and like I loved sports and stuff. And so I felt like we were placed to balance each other out. And in that sense, when we were cast in roles for the skits like Alice in Wonderland, it fit our personality. Like
Right.
I loved having the fat suit. I don't know if anyone else would have. Maybe they would have. I don't know. But I was like so happy. And I think Kayla loved being the cat. Like I just think we were put together because we had different personalities, and then they kind of went well together. That was my take on it. But is that what it was?
It's pretty close. There's an aspect that you understand now is the filming, right? So I know they would go, well, we can put Catherine in that suit, and she's not gonna complain. She's gonna, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, seriously. And so when they first put all of you together, they were watching to see which groups of kids work better, this or that, because and to be honest, with what directors, right? Some of those directors go longer than others. You know, like Fred Holmes, we laugh about Fred all the time, and I love him to death. But he does a lot of takes. A lot of takes, so you have to have the right cast for that, right? If you have a kid that's impatient, that's not going to work out.
Right.
And so they really grouped you all in which, you obviously with Selena and you've talked about Michaela a lot.
Yeah, so many of my memories are with them just because.
But you got along with it. It worked together, right? So you basically built your own teams, is what you did.
Yes, definitely. I remember it being fun. I don't remember who it was, but someone got sick last minute, and so I ended up taking their place because I was available. But it wasn't a group I was usually cast with. And I guess, the total group is small enough that it was really kind of two. And it wasn't always the same, but it was often the same. But I got to go into sort of a different one. And it was just so fun because I hadn't worked with those kids as often. I would just go to school with them. And so we hadn't gotten to interact on set as much. So it was really fun subbing in because I got to hang out with people that I never hung out with before and do a role, that since it was made for someone else, it was a little bit different than they kind of wrote me into it, but it's a little bit different than the type of episode that I would usually do. And that was really fun. I think that was the one where we did the umbrella dance when it was raining. The whole part time with it. I think I must have messed that one up 10 times. Another one I remember, I hope you remember this one, was do you have that episode, It's a Happy Day? Or Happy Day?
I can remember the songs coming in. What did I have?
It was
happy? I would definitely.
So everyone got to pick something that they wanted to do. So I don't know, someone picked Let's Dress Up as Robots. Someone picked Let's Dress Up as Cats. And I fell on a part of the episode. I fell. It was to hit my knee on a rock, and then I had to cry. But I am the last person who can cry on command. So I remember you were in that scene. You were comforting me, and we must have done that one a million times because I kept crying during the scene. I was supposed to be crying, but I was laughing a lot of it. We finally got it, and I think I had something that you can put in your eye to help cry.
Oh yeah.
Because they were not real tears. I couldn't predict real tears. I think maybe they were hoping initially that I could, but pretty soon it was clear I could not.
Well,
but I remember that well.
We knew you were kids, right? And I'd experienced it on the road, so I already knew. I mean, that's a hard thing to ask a kid to do. Oh, by the way, with a big purple dinosaur, and let's be honest, all the amount of people that are watching you. I mean, was that difficult for you?
Yeah, it was difficult. I mean, so you have all the people. So what's kind of interesting, and I don't know, I guess if you haven't been on a set, you might not know, and maybe they do it different on different sets, but you have the people watching you in person, but then directors and the producers are often watching a live feed in the same room, but on camera, and there's multiple different shots, and it's because they need to see how it's going to look on camera.
Yeah.
So they're in the chairs watching it on camera, but then you also have people like Miss Shelley and Christine who help teach us the dances. They would kind of more be watching it live to help us with the dances. And then we also had Miss Mary Lee and Miss Crowbutt and people who did the microphones, and those Linda and Miss Jeannie. They were in the back. There was always they called themselves the Peanut Gallery, and they had a part in the back, and they would also watch it live. So, at any given time, there were a ton of people watching.
Well, my dressers, all the dressers, the wranglers, and then you have all the prop department, so art department.
Yeah. And so they were all back there and watching in some way or another. It was weird. I mean, it was mostly weird. I do specifically remember that crying scene and thinking in my head, I knew it was a real close-up because the camera was right there. And every time I thought about it, I just cracked up.
Wow.
And I know they were so nice because I know they were getting frustrated.
Man.
Because I just couldn't keep it together. But, yeah, knowing people are watching you, especially when you know it's like a close-up, is hard. Because at the other times, you don't really know if you're going to be on camera or not. I mean, they'll do different shots.
Right.
So you could be, but you're not. They pan, like you don't really know if you're fully on camera when your like face is on camera.
Right.
But when the times when I knew, those were hard for me.
And what about singing? Are you a singer?
No. It's so funny. I was going to ask you about Casey.
Yes, my brother. He's good. He's in Austin. My brother, a lot of people don't know that, but he did all the recording.
Yep.
All the kids and the voice actors that are singing their dialogue.
Yeah. And we would go in the week before and record the songs. And then you do sing while you're filming, so it, your mouth moves in the right way, but the real audio is coming from the pre-recorded song so that it sounds very clear. But my best memory of Casey is I had like a solo. You would come in and record your solos. So I think the chorus, there was a very good children's singing group that would handle the chorus so that it sounded great. And then when we actually had solos, it obviously sounded like our voice. So we would pre-record those. And I remember one specific solo I had that I could not get. I think it was a notes that were too high. I was never a singer. And so finally he was like, Catherine, can you just talk rhythmically? And I was like, okay. And so I got through a lot of those solos by like talking to the beat instead of singing it fully. But I also didn't have a lot. I know, because Demi was an amazing singer the whole way.
Right.
There were a couple other kids that were really great, and so they would give, longer singing to them, which made total sense.
Right.
I sometimes struggled with that. I think that was the part that was the hardest for me, actually. But it was nice to be able to record it in advance because you could do it as many times as needed, and so there wasn't that pressure on you when you were filming.
It's interesting. See, my brother's a perfectionist, so I always am interested in what the experience was because I know that he asked a lot of people. I'm glad that.
Well, he worked with me because when I did he was always nice about it, but I just remember always him saying, like, can you talk it rhythmically instead of singing it? Because I couldn't, like, hit that note. Yeah, it was hard for me. But it was fun. We always had fun going into record. He was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, Catherine, kind of to wind it up, what was your overall experience? The highs, the lows, everything. Sorry, one quick question to answer all, but
yeah, that's hard. But even though it wasn't something I continued to do, it was hands down like the coolest experience I've had so far. I mean, it's funny, and I think a lot of people might say this, but even though it was so long ago, if I hear like a keyword from a song, it's in my head. I remember, I think, almost all of them. And it's, I don't know, it's something that's unique. Obviously, I share it with the other kids who did it, and there's also kids in other seasons who did it, so there are a handful of us, but, beyond that handful and beyond you and the rest of the cast and crew, it's just this sort of thing that we share and this experience that bonds us. And it's really cool. Yeah, it's not like anything I do today, that's for sure.
Well, when people find out, you tell people, what's the reaction?
I used to tell people more, inevitably people do find out. And it's interesting. One thing that called a little bit more attention to it, I think, when like Selena and Demi became more famous, they were drawing back. I think because they were on Barney together, it made it a very interesting story. So, you know, I remember my mom, and this must have been 7 years after I was totally done with Barney. She was like, reading People magazine, and like the Barney photo was on there. It's like, oh, that's you. And I think those pictures may not have been drawn up as much if they hadn't been on it together, but because of that, it was brought up more and more. And I think that, so like my friends would see me, or like pictures of me, and I'd be sort of like on the side, but I'd like be in it, and that was weird for me, and that definitely kept people interested in it. But it always comes out. I try not to say it at first, but it comes out eventually. Do you tell people?
Well, it's so funny. I didn't. For the longest time, I didn't. And then, you know, I was telling you earlier that this podcast happened.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the reaction would be. I had these two gentlemen that wanted me on to talk about my photography. And when they said, "What do you used to do?" I told them, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you've got to be on our show." And we talked about it, and these two grown men started crying.
Really?
Started crying.
Wow.
Hearing the stories of Barney going to hospitals and this. And it touched them. And I realized we probably, especially what's going on these days, need to tell these stories out. I think people were interested. And I think the fact that so many people were so passionate about it, it's important for people to understand. So were we. We took this very seriously. We loved what we did. We really were a family, are a family.
Yeah.
And it's very special to us as well.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it people always have questions, like, well, they always ask me, what was Barney like? And I always tell them about you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, we were, like, kind of buddies, and he was young and fun, and they, like, never believed me. But, yeah, it's something that we share, but then almost everyone knows about Barney and, like, has some relationship with it, whether their kids watch it or they used to watch it growing up. So everyone has questions about how it was made and stuff, and it's fun to be able to share that with people, knowing that I can, I don't know, give them some insight into something that they wouldn't otherwise have any idea about.
Right.
And so that is always very fun for me.
Well, yeah, because we did something in a lot of ways different than anyone's done, you know, with two different, a body and a voice and live kids. And, you know, because I've talked to people from Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street and all these other shows, and we all do it a little bit different. So.
For sure. Well, not to mention, like, the people that I'm around usually, because I'm no longer in the acting world, like, maybe some people, their peers are filming things constantly, so they kind of know what's up. The body and voice is different, but the rest of it, they're okay, you kind of understand, like, what goes on. You have a table read, and you shoot, and, like, you do all that. But a lot of the people that I'm constantly around, I mean, they don't have any idea. Why would you if you've never done it? So it's 100% foreign to them. And so it is fun to kind of, it's also just fun to, like, kind of have an idea. Obviously, Barney was a lot smaller, though it was big, smaller than, like, the movies that I go see. Right. But I still feel that I have some insight into the overall process, even if it's on a smaller scale, that I wouldn't have any idea if I hadn't done that. And so it's always kind of fun. I wonder, like, how they filmed that. Like, I remember that. How many takes did they do? Kind of thing.
Well, and that should tell you a lot, though, because when you say smaller, we're talking about smaller in production.
Right.
But the popularity of Barney.
Right.
I mean, I used to do performances in front of 16,000 people.
Wow.
With a little backdrop and some lights. We didn't have dancers and all those kind of things, and people just loved it. So it really is unbelievable how big that character was for the production size.
100%.
I can't stop smiling. It's so good seeing you.
It's so easy too. Like, even though we haven't seen each other in so long, it feels like yesterday.
Yep.
It does, and the memories, it makes me very happy.
Me too. Thank you for asking me to be on it. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. I'm so glad. So many people, you're going to be surprised how many people can't wait to see
I'm kind of nervous.
Catherine play again.
anything like this. So I'm a little bit nervous to like, I don't know. But anyway, that was so exciting. So it's been awesome. Thank
Well, I
you.
love hearing your stories and hearing a new perspective of it. It's always fascinating to me. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being on.
Of course.
And thank you, Purple Roads fans. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your Purple Road. We'll see you next week.
So that was Purple Road, episode 24. Catherine, Polly, Beth, Barney friends. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. So far this video went to be a success. Anyways guys, double episode for LJPCBM Reacts, episode number 503. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one, which is going to be Purple Roads, episode 25, Emma Watkins for the Wiggles. Till next time, salute Jefferson, goodbye, peace out, baby. You can't watch me as guys very soon. Till then, Jefferson out. See ya. We're gonna have an extra minute now. Anyway, we're clear now. We're ready. But anyway, let's go ahead and get the credits rolling. And there, all there. Get your skin. There. Well, that's not gonna happen this time. But that's stupid. Next. Uh-oh. I can't record right now. I'll be right back. Back, folks. Going to do one more LJPCBM React episode just for one more time, and we'll wrap up LJPCBM 2020 day 162 for the rest of the day, because I don't feel like making more projects after this is over. So we'll do LJPCBM 2020 day LJPCBM React episode 505 to 512 tomorrow, because I don't usually feel like making episodes like this, because if I do cooks today, that'd be fine, but right now I don't feel like making episodes like this, but you know, that's just me. But anyway, let's go ahead and make what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, 2 episodes the probably 2 episodes, or just 1 episode of LJPCBM Reacts, and I'll be done. So that's gonna be me, and we'll be done with the film. So there you go. So let's do it now. So we got, shall we? So we got. But anyway, where were we here? ScreenFlow. Better quit. iMovie. iTunes Studio. We'll tape the episode right now. Anyway, where are we here? Okay, ScreenFlow. Okay. Well, start out of time. Clock. Hello guys, this is Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM Reacts, episode number 504. And today I'm reacting to Purple Roads, episode 25, Emma Watkins with the Wiggles. And we're reacting to this beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour, and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show, Barney and Friends. Now, my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Wow, okay. New intro, huh?
From the Purple Roads. My name is Carrie Stinson, and I am, as always, thrilled you're here. I'm so excited to have Emma Watkins, one of the Wiggles, from Australia with us today. Emma, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. I am great. I'm here in Fort Worth, Texas, and you're in Australia, and I love that we can, through Zoom,
This
be
is
together.
amazing. I think, can you see it in the background? This is Wiggles HQ in the middle of creating a new set. We're crafting. There's a big pixel love heart up there on the wall.
Love it.
Wow.
We're getting ready. My dog Darlie has joined us here for the chat too.
Well,
Wow.
welcome.
Thank you.
More the merrier. Well, this is very exciting. I worked with the Wiggles a bunch in my early days with Barney. I never, unfortunately, got the chance to work with you, but I am a huge fan, obviously. I see what they did in America, and obviously they were big in Australia before they came to America, and then they became big everywhere.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with what's it like being a Wiggle?
It's pretty amazing. I mean, I guess the way that the Wiggles had formed and then transformed into this phenomenon around the world, I guess they never really expected that they would be as popular as they were. And really, America for them became their second home. They were touring there 3 times a year. And that was such a big market for them. And, you know, America was like family
for their touring family, especially. And now in Australia, it's almost bigger than it's ever been. It's been like a rebirth of the Wiggles, and truly, I'd never expected that I would ever be doing this. And I come from a really big dance background, so I never really learnt to sing properly or had ever focused on it. And so now, sometimes when people think that I'm a singer, it quite surprises me. But I'm thrilled to be here, and I think I always thought that I would pursue dance and be in a dance company, wherever that was in the world. And now to be a Wiggle, I actually couldn't imagine myself doing anything more. So I'm very grateful to have landed in this part of the world and in this particular role. And yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
It's a fun part about kids entertainment. Each week I interview people, and they end up in children's entertainment, but it's not usually where they started or where their plan was. I was a musician. Next thing I know, I end up in a purple dinosaur costume. And so I'm fascinated by your dance background. I am not a dancer at all, but my mom was a trained dancer.
Wow.
So when I was reading all about where you started with ballet and all the places you went with dance, why don't we start out, or why don't we go to your dance background and where all that's just taken you?
It's kind of bizarre because I had seen dancing for the first time as a child watching the Wiggles, and I was very fascinated by the Irish dancing. I don't know if it's because of my hair and particularly Irish complexion, but I think I was really drawn to the costumes and the jumping around and all the rest of it. And apparently I'd asked my mum, and I think I was about 4 at the time, I'd like to do that. So mum took me to enroll into an Irish school, and the teacher at the time thought that I was too young. And at that time, starting before 4 was a bit, it just wasn't really done. Children started dance at 5, 6, 7.
Right.
And so the Irish dancing teacher at that time suggested I start ballet. So I did ballet for a year, and then when I was 5, I started Irish dancing, just like I'd seen on the Wiggles, and that's how that journey started for me. But I'm interested, as you said, you're a musician, what instrument do you play?
I was a piano player.
Piano.
I was a piano player, and that's what got me. I heard about Barney, and they said, you're in the industry. You should go talk to Sloan Coleman, who had a big background with the Wiggles as well. Sloan was involved with both of us, and my music background is kind of what helped me get into the costume, because I wasn't a dancer, but I had rhythm. I understood rhythm through music.
And essentially, Barney did a lot of movement, a lot of dance. I'm surprised that you say that, but I actually think Barney was very physical. And it's such a big costume.
Oh, he was, and I could dance because of my mother. It's a story I've told before, but the short of it is, they said, "Can you dance?" And I said, "Sure, I can." Because when you're trying to get a job, you tell them, "Yeah, I can do anything." Right? You understand what I'm doing? You probably said you could sing.
I mean, interestingly, at the time, and you're exactly right, if you had been in a performing arts school or, performing arts course, I was at full-time during the time that I auditioned for the Wiggles. And, most of what they say is, say that you've done everything, even if you haven't. And then after the audition, go and do it, go and learn it, go and figure out what the skill is. And when it was in this room at the time, I'd seen the audition for the Wiggles company to be a fairy. And at the time I had very short blonde hair. I was born blonde, white blonde hair, very fairy-esque, very curly. And so I thought, fairy, that'll be fine. And we had to learn a ballet piece from a video before we got there on the Monday. And to me, I thought that's a really easy audition. And I wasn't too anxious about the audition. I think auditions leading up to it, and I tried every musical, Cats, Wicked, Sound of Music, everything, which I did quite well at, but when I got to the singing, I was always told that my singing wasn't up to it. So I got in here to audition, there was about 50 girls, and we were being a ballet dancing fairy. And at the end they said, who would like to sing this number as well as dance? And to be honest, it was a full ballet number. Everything, jumping, the splits, honestly, everything. I thought, that is crazy. And for the first time, the first audition, I just went, I didn't actually say anything, and I just was one of those people that didn't put my hand up to sing. 4 out of the 50 girls said that they would sing, and I thought, that is very brave. So I didn't sing at that audition. However, because I had done Irish dancing and somebody on the panel had recognised me from a competition, they said, don't you do Irish dancing? I said, yeah. And they're like, oh, we do Irish dancing here at the Wiggles. Can you give us a step? And so all these people had done all their acrobatic tricks, which I have no skill. I did a bit of an Irish dance around the floor, and next week I'd got the job. So very interesting that I agree. That's definitely what you're meant to be doing at an audition. And I just didn't even go there. It was only till about a year later that I was in as part of the Wiggle show, and I was there as a dancer, and because of my training in film editing, I was there to create footage for them. And so it was only then that Anthony asked me to wear a microphone and start narrating the ballet on stage for Dorothy the Dinosaur with the original Wiggles. And I think that was my first ever, go at having a microphone. I'd never worn a microphone or ever heard my voice back on a speaker. And yeah, when I was asked to be a Wiggle, I hadn't really sung for Anthony prior to that time. And, I think he was just as worried as I was. But, I think the beauty about children's entertainment, and something that I did learn, especially through Simon and Lockie, the new Red and Purple Wiggle, who have a plethora of singing training and are so... music and singing is a real part of their personality. I learned so much from them, And once I could get my head away from listening to myself and using my voice as a story time element, then I started to relax. But I admit, if I hear my voice on the first couple of albums, it's nowhere like it is now. And I think I was very worried, and I tried to be a singer very early on. And then now, since that I've relaxed away from that, I can actually listen to my voice back now. And it's more about the story and translating that to children.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't, when I was first getting those dance moves down, I was a nervous wreck, doing 360s and stuff like that. And I mean, I was taught by my mother, who was a trained dancer, so she taught me the technical part of it. But it definitely took time. And I think it sounds like we both did the same thing, which is you rely on your strengths.
Yeah, just get in there. Smile a lot.
Right.
I mean, I was like, I'll just smile and do some ballet in the background and some Irish just to get by.
Sure.
I was learning on the go. I'd never sung for an audience. I'd never used a microphone, never been in a recording studio. I mean, I cried for multiple weeks because I couldn't understand why my voice sounded like that in the headphones. And I was very anxious, very anxious.
So what was it like the first time you heard your voice on that mic?
It wasn't good. I just couldn't. I mean, I knew what it was like to sing or to hold a tune, but I was very worried. And I can hear myself now on that first, the first album. It was just really hard also because I don't have a big range. I don't have a big singing range at all. And so we would be, most of the time at the beginning, we would be re-singing or re-instrumentalizing. Oh, that's not even a word. Instrumentalizing the original Wiggle song. They were in boy keys as well.
Okay.
So that was already a problem. So it was already not in my range. And then we would have to try and find lines that it might work. Or the boys would sing and then I'd be like, beauty, mate. And I'd just say a phrase that was spoken. And honestly, it was hard to find where I was able to sit. But then once we started writing new songs and, Lockie was like, let's write something in your key. Let's find something, because he's an amazing pianist. He was like, right, let's transpose it. Let's move it here. And that made all the world of difference. And now, it's, okay, Emma, where can we, if this song is going to be predominantly using, where can we put it? And it's so different to how it was initially.
So on that note, what was it like being the first female Wiggle?
Mm-hmm.
Was there challenges with that? Did you see it as a big deal? And did the media, how did that all go down?
I'll try and summarize it, but
sure.
when Anthony asked me, and when he asked the three of us, that was also strange. I think people had thought there was an audition process, but there was no audition. I was being auditioned while I was in the show, and I didn't know about it. So I guess he was looking for qualities that he could see that would, softly spoken, engaging with children, warm personality, vibe. And so I guess that's why the singing aspect never really came up as an issue.
Sure.
And so I think the issue was, at that time it never occurred to me about the singing. That was fine. I wasn't even too worried about being a girl. It didn't occur to me that would ever be an issue. And then when everybody found out, most of the complaints had come from people my age, complaining that there was a girl replacing their childhood dream. And I could relate because I knew I'm an original Wiggles fan. The Wiggles are 13.
Actually, you know what? Since LJPCBM episode number 504 will be taped, because I think it's a place better to stop, because even though it's 8 o'clock or something like that, I think it's too late, because Lucas the Cool Guy is doing a IOL stream, and I'm going to stop right there, because I'll be right back. Well, you know something? We'll have to do a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll do the rest of the LJPCBM episode for the rest of the day. We'll be right back, like tomorrow, something like that. We'll be right back after these. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll be right back after these commercial breaks. Stay tuned. Sorry, because I couldn't last it forever, because if I tape an episode once, then it will happen again and again and again. I'll redo this tomorrow, because I think LJPCBM episode 500 will be 504 is going to be redo. I can't dislike my video. No. But anyway, let's go ahead and save it. I don't want to save that project anymore, so I don't want to be late for this. But, that's another cause for one day. I'll see you tomorrow for LG 2020 Day of 100 and 60. Hold on. See you for day number 163, and I'll be right there for you. See ya.